The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
Hello, this is Zack Sabre Jr., New Japan Cup winner 2018. And you're listening to Keepin It Strong Style with my mates. Enjoy.
Yo, this is Rich Latta from One Nation Radio. This is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network. We present to you the Ace of Podcasts, Keepin It Strong Style. Let's go. It's the Ace of Podcasts, Keepin It Strong Style. Covering New Japan, they ready to hold it down. Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Josh. Come and hit a job out and bury all the frauds. From the Tokyo Dome over to the G1. Social Suplex is the network where we can get it done. I'ma chill and let them have it, cause this is just an intro. Keeping the strong style, 6 stars from the get-go, boy. Yeah, from Tampa Bay to the Tokyo Dome, this is Keeping It Strong Style with your hosts, Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Joshua Smith. And thank you for listening.
Welcome to Keeping It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Jeremy Donovan here with the young boy Josh Smith. On today's show, we're reviewing nights 4 and 5 of the New Japan Cup, answering your questions, and covering all the latest news in the world of New Japan Pro Wrestling. You can support our show by subscribing to the Social Suplex Podcast Network and Keeping It Strong Style on the podcast app of your choice and leaving a rating and review. You can also get all the podcasts and columns over at socialsuplex.com. Check out our Pro Wrestling Tees store, prowrestlingtees.com/socialsuplex. That's where you can get your official Keeping It Strong Style t-shirt. And if you enjoy this podcast, please consider making a one-time or monthly donation by visiting socialsuplex.com/donate and clicking on the donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo. This week's episode is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-belt grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. They obsess over their technology development to provide you the best tools for your grooming experience. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code SUPLEX at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use code SUPLEX. Young boy, how you doing, man?
I am doing fantastic. How are you, man?
Doing pretty good, man.
I'm happy to be recording this on a Sunday. Bum, bum, bum.
Yeah, instead of our usual Monday nights, Sunday, a little Sunday afternoon action here.
Yeah, you know, we just had to get some things kind of moved around. Holiday week coming up, so, you know, this seemed to be the best time. But luckily it fits into the schedule because this coming Monday we do not have action as we've had the past couple weeks. Instead, it looks like New Japan is going to be moving the next night of the New Japan Cup to Wednesday?
Yep, so we will be back July 1st with New Japan Cup action on Wednesday. So there's action Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I believe. And there's also Lions Break Project Collision also on Friday, 10 p.m. Eastern Time.
Oh, wow, can't miss that. I mean, that's going to be huge, right?
Yeah, dude, there's going to be some big match implications coming off that show. It's going to shake up the foundations of New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Absolutely. I think like this is kind of the similar idea to like what Eric Bischoff wanted to do, how he wanted to have like WCW and NWO. Basically, Lions Break is NWO now. This basically sold out.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's gonna be good.
All right, so we've got some New Japan Cup action to talk about. We had nights 4 and 5 happen since the last time we recorded. And as usual, I watched New Japan Cup using the NJPW EXT, the only browser extension for NJPWWorld.com, with great features like dark mode, improved translations and layouts, custom and shared playlists, synchronized viewing parties, and much, much, much more. It will take your NJPW World experience to the next level. I'm telling you. Visit njpwext.us today for details.
Yeah, love that extension. Bro, Corona blowing up here in Florida.
That's right.
What are you doing to stay safe, man?
Staying inside.
Jeremy's like, I'm gonna stay my ass inside.
I'm on that James Boyd. Yeah, we got, record-breaking cases here in Florida. Literally like breaking the record every day now, and so yeah, things are not looking good here.
This is basically the Okada of record of states right now. We're breaking all the records. Historic.
Yes.
Once in a lifetime. Yo, seriously, we don't need to make this into like a big, long, thing. But guys, be careful. Wear your mask. Wash your hands. Just do it. I want to get over this, and I want to be able to like go into a restaurant and not be scared.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah,
I want to be able to go to Tokyo and like watch Japanese pro wrestling, and like it feels like that might never happen again. Like I don't know.
Yeah, I would just like to go to a local Tampa show.
Yeah, bro. Like I would love that. When was the last time we went to a wrestling show? Like I can't remember.
I think it was Tampa Bay Pro to watch Sandy's in-ring debut.
Oh my. Yeah, bro, that was shout out to a good friend of the show, Liana Dos Santos, making her debut. There was 2 good matches, but that entire card was whack. And
it is on Fight TV, so if you want to see Dos Santos and you want to see Troy Hollywood versus Hunter Law, those were the 2 good matches from that show. Keep in mind,
Troy Hollywood. The production's shitty, but Troy Hollywood versus Hunter Law, that match was a banger. Like. Very few people are gonna see it. If you guys want a good match recommendation, go watch that. It's free on Fight TV. It's the main event, probably like 30 minutes. Like, just amazing that neither of these guys are signed to anywhere like big. They're like Florida's best kept secrets. Like, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Keep in mind, it's our local little indie, so production quality is not great. So keep that in mind. But yeah, check out Troy and Hunter and Dos Santos. Some good stuff there. So now let's roll into this New Japan Cup action here. So we had night 4, which concluded the first round of action here. So what were your overall thoughts on night 4?
I thought it was good. Okay, this is how I felt. When I think of like a standard New Japan show, and I'm not talking about like your Dominions or something of that nature, but I'm talking about like just your regular everyday New Japan show. Maybe, who knows, maybe is Sengoku Lord or a Hino Kuni or something like, a C-level show. Destruction in Fukushima or something like that. This is what I think of. This type of wrestling. This literally had no true blowaway matches on the card, but every single match, you could say solid, but I'd say was better than solid. I thought that every single match was very good, but not necessarily great. But this is sort of like your bread and butter New Japan show. It's almost like soul food, like, or not soul food, maybe like comfort food. This is your very buttery mashed potatoes. It tastes really good. It's something that your mom can whip up for you. You feel comfortable. You feel familiar. Like that's what this was. Like this was really, it was I know I saw a lot of people who like, were kind of criticizing this night because it didn't have your Sho Shingo on it and it didn't have your Suzuki Nagata. And if that's the kind of fan that you are, you want to come in and kind of cherry pick, that's fine. Like, I'm not going to blast you for it. Everybody has their own thing. But for like a real New Japan fan, I felt like personally this was a very good night and was something you wouldn't want to miss because I thought it was highly entertaining personally. Like I just did. I would put this just slightly above your average Road 2 show personally.
I was going to say, for me, it was kind of like a spot-on Road 2 show. I mean, you had a lot of, solid action with a decent main event, nothing blow away. You had stuff that was, advancing stories, advancing this tournament. It's definitely you want to see what's happening in the tournament, so you shouldn't miss it. But at the same time, like you're saying, nothing was blow away. It was fine little action here. Like if you want to skip this night, you're really not going to miss a whole ton of stuff unless you're.
Oh, I disagree.
If you're a completist, you definitely watch it. But honestly, like I would not tell anybody to really go out of their way to watch anything on this card.
Okay, well, let me just, in the sake of, argument's sake, let me just kind of rebuttal that. It has to be higher than a Road 2 show because we got 4 singles matches. When's the last time you remember getting 4 singles matches on any Road 2 show?
I don't mean as far as like I'll see it as a singles match. I mean, as far as like match quality, this was like a Road 2 show to me.
I understand that, but at the same time, singles matches are so rare that regardless of the match quality, I mean, unless they're really stinkers, it's got to be higher than a Road 2 show, period, because they're singles matches. And the other thing is singles matches always hold significance as opposed to your standard tag team matches. For that reason alone, I could never tell someone you could just skip this. I mean, if all you're looking for is someone who's like a star ratings like snob and you're just going to watch to see cool moves or whatever, that's fine. But like these matches, I thought every single match here was more than solid. I thought that this was much better than a Road 2 show. I wouldn't put it like in the level of like B. I'd give it like a B- or a C+, but I thought this was New Japan. Like if someone wanted to know what New Japan was, I would show them the show. This is New Japan. This is exactly what New Japan is day in and day out. I thought the show was great.
All right, well, let's break down the card here. So starting off, we had Bushi taking on Yo in first round action here. So what are your thoughts on this opener here?
Really impressed with the new music, look, and attitude of Yo. Yeah, that's the first thing that kind of caught my attention.
Yeah, so we've seen, obviously, Sho has had his single music for a while now. He debuted it at Best of Super Juniors last year, and we've kind of seen Sho kind of take his singles gear to kind of like a next level and kind of really separate himself from kind of like Roppongi 3K, Sho and Yo kind of look. And so now we're finally seeing Yo kind of getting his own feel, his own look. He's getting his own music now and kind of becoming his own individual.
Yeah, and the moment that happened, I was like, oh, is this an indication that maybe we were wrong about our prediction as far as the winner here? But then I thought back to night 3, and I was like, well, Tanahashi came out with all that drip, and it didn't seem to do him so well.
All right.
But these guys went out there. I thought they put on a heck of a match, honestly. I thought it was really good. I was surprised that it was as good as it was as far as Bushi and Yo, because I like Yo a lot, but I'm never really that impressed with Bushi. I think like unless he's wrestling, say like Zack Sabre, or I'm sorry, unless wrestling like Will Ospreay, I'm not usually super high on Bushi at all. But I thought that these guys did a lot with the time that was given them. I thought it was very entertaining. I did think, however, it might have gone a smidge too long. 15 minutes just seemed like a little bit too long to give these guys, especially considering it was an important match in terms of the tournament, but like I don't know like what other progression aside from it just being a first round tournament match. It really like what water it really holds in the long, storytelling element of New Japan. But all around, I thought that these guys had a really good match. And the fact that Bushi put Yo away clean, like completely clean, no cheating, nothing of that sort. Like he caught him, he hit him with, the MX off the top rope, kind of tells you where they see Bushi in terms of his relation to Yo, and it also tells you where they see Yo in terms of Sho at this point in the hierarchy of New Japan when it comes to single stars.
Right, we're seeing Sho getting a big singles victory over Shingo Takagi, a heavyweight, a guy who's established, been in the G1, and Yo is struggling to put away Bushi, who essentially is the bottom man in Los Ingobernables de Japón, and so yeah, it's kind of interesting to kind of see the different paths that Sho and Yo are going in singles career and kind of where New Japan sees both of these guys. And, I thought this was a very good opener. I thought these guys, they worked really hard. I do think this is one of the matches that would have definitely benefited from a crowd with Yo and Bushi. They're, two of, crowd favorites, especially, we were in Corkin Hall here for this show. The Corkin crowd would have loved this match and have really been behind both of these guys, and you would have had a lot of great reactions with these two guys here. And so I definitely think that would help. And I totally agree with you. I do think for a tournament opener, for it being Yo and Bushi, it could have been a little bit shorter, a little bit tighter. But yeah, at the end of the day, it was fine. Throughout the whole match, Bushi was trying to hit, the code breaker variation, hits the MX until he finally does get the MX at the end there and gets the win on Yo.
Yo was teasing a new finish or a new maneuver, and I was seeing online that it was sort of like that cross-legged sort of like Falcon Arrow suplex move thing that he did towards the end, which was kind of cool. But then it was like, Bushi kicked out of it. So it's like, how effective is it as a new move if you're debuting it? And like, I don't know what Yo's finish even is. You're better with the finishes than I do. Do you know?
The Stargazer, that calf crusher maneuver that he uses.
Okay. Yeah, because I remember like the first time he was singles in the Best Super Juniors, not ever, but the first time as like, since he returned from excursion, he didn't really have a finish. He was just rolling guys up,
Right. He's doing a lot of cradles, a lot of bridge kind of clutch moves.
So I did think when he was teasing he had a new finish, I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Like, maybe they are going to kind of give him a little push, similar to Show, but not the case. That being aside from that, though, I will say, again, the 15 minutes might have been a little too long in terms of like entertainment standpoint. But from a storytelling element, it does kind of tell you it took Bushi quite a while to get rid of Yo. So Yo was with him every step of the way. So that does tell you a little bit, guys that can, go and, stay with a established ex-champion like Bushi. It does say something. It'd be, if Bushi beat him in like, say, 9 minutes, then we're talking about a whole different, aspect and perception of the match. The other thing too, though, is even though Yo didn't win here, I did think that he did enough to kind of make a good accounting of himself as far as like looking like a star, showing charisma, showing he can have a good opener, like everything of that nature. So I thought it was a good outing for him, and that them's be the breaks. Like, this wasn't his time. The booking, didn't call for Yo to kind of continue, and Bushi's moving on. I thought it was pretty good. I don't know. I would have gone like 3.25 here, I guess.
Yeah, I think I was 3 stars flat on this one.
Yeah, good match.
So then we move on to the next matchup, also first round action here with Yoshihashi and Hiroyoshi Tenzan.
For me, extremely surprising. Just I thought this was easily match of the night. I know there's going to be a lot of people who disagree with that, but I thought Yoshihashi and Tenzan really went out there and worked their hardest and put on a great match. It's kind of reminiscent of, I don't know if you remember this in the G1 a couple years ago, like one of the first few nights, Yoshihashi and Togi Makabe had a really great match. It was like night 1 or night like 3.
Yeah.
This kind of reminded me of that in a sense. Like Yoshihashi went out there with something to prove, and Tenzan did too. And I think the time off really helped both guys because they just both were moving really good, especially Tenzan. And I thought they told an incredible story here, filled with a lot of drama. And there was a few times they got me. I thought Tenzan was going to beat Yoshihashi, which, given the fact he's a former multiple-time, IWGP champion, he's won the G1, stuff like that. Like, it's not unfathomable that he could have beat Yoshihashi because Yoshihashi is kind of a geek. But I thought that they put on one hell of a match, and it was super hard hitting and super engrossing. And Tenzan just like fighting for his career, fighting for his life. Like, this is probably the one time this year I'm going to like really, really be impressed with the Tenzan performance. I loved it a lot. I thought this was awesome.
Yeah, I think we've seen with all the New Japan dads, the time off has kind of helped them all a lot. And with them, having limited matches in this tournament, I feel like all of them, Nagata, Tenzan, Kojima, have all been going all out and giving it their all, like trying to give you that kind of throwback performance. That's what we saw here with Tenzan. Like you mentioned, he was moving really good. He was really fired up, really hard hitting. And like you were saying, like it's like he's fighting for his career. He's holding on to the little bit that he has left. And throwing it all out there, and there was, like you mentioned, several times in this match where I thought Tenzan was going to get the win. Throughout the match, he's fighting for that Anaconda Vice, and there was one point where he had it locked on.
He had it in.
It was wrenched. I was like, "Oh, this geek is going to tap," and showing this man how to do a real submission hole here.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the Anaconda Vice, and we'll talk about it later. But, the Anaconda Vice is pretty much essentially what Okada's doing in a seated version. No one really has that take or is discussing it. But he's doing a head arm triangle choke, like a head arm, like a seated head arm choke with like I don't know how you describe it, but it pretty much is the Anaconda Vice. I don't know if you thought about that yet.
I didn't, but now that I'm picturing it, I'm like, yeah, that's
picture it. It is.
Yeah.
It's the Anaconda Vice. No one's talking. It's the 10 billion yen dream. But yeah, man. The thing I just gotta say is all these dads, these guys are going in hard, bro.
Yeah.
I just want Tenzan to like look into the hard cam and like in straight English be like, Taker, get on my level.
But yeah, we're usually, pretty hard critics on Tenzan, especially in this stage of his career and just how he moves around and how normally he's not looking very good. But, no critiques here. This is the best Tenzan I've seen in this kind of stage of his career. Looked really good here. Fought really hard-hitting match. Went 17 minutes, but eventually, Tenzan wasn't able to get the win there. Yoshihashi was able to fight out of the Anaconda Vice and get Tenzan locked in the butterfly lock.
Yeah, and also congrats to Yoshihashi. The thing is with him, we are pretty critical of Yoshihashi on this show, rightfully so. There's a lot of things to be critical of, but every once in a while, he will go out there and just have a really surprisingly great performance. And that's not to say that he's not surprisingly great in the ring. If you actually watch him, he is good, mechanically speaking. He's a very, very good wrestler. But, I don't think he's like transcendent or anything of that nature. I'd put him just slightly below Chase Owens in that effect. But at the same time, the one thing he's able to do that I don't ever really see from Chase is, Chase, I can't remember any time that he's like really started to have a match that transcended to the next level to where you're like, okay, I can see this guy like doing big things. And every once in a while, Yoshihashi will do that. And that's kind of what he did here. Like they told a great story. He did a fantastic job building drama, building tension, creating doubt that Tenzan, could possibly come back. They had a lot of really awesome comeback sequences with Tenzan. And then then they kind of ruined it at the very end because he hit him with that butterfly lock 2 or 3 times, and like on the I think it was the second time he locked it in, Tenzan was forced to tap out. But even that you can't really criticize them because it's just the fact that the butterfly lock sucks ass. Like,
yes, dude, that's the one thing that I hated the most about this match was both butterfly locks attempts there, and then the final one I was just like, gosh, the submission is just horrible.
What I don't understand about it is like he could just lock in a real butterfly lock. You don't even have to hurt someone. You don't have to wrench it in. Just put it on and make it look believable and it'll be fine. But it's because he's doing a one-arm butterfly lock and quote unquote wrenching using his leg or thigh. Like he's got the other arm trapped. It doesn't look like anything.
Right.
Like
looks like he's just literally just holding his head.
He's just holding the guy. Like it doesn't look like anything. But if you can overlook the fact that that's a really terrible move, I thought the match was great. I've seen some people go as high as 4 stars. I don't think I'm quite there. Although with a crowd, who knows? I'd probably go like 3 3/4 on this. I thought it was match of the night. I thought it was awesome.
Yeah, I didn't think it was match of the night. I was like somewhere 3 1/4, 3.5 range on it. Really solid match. Also, we got to talk about the the moonsault that Tenzan busted out. He wasn't able to hit it, but went up there, turned the clock back at a moonsault.
Now, I don't ever notice when he does it. I know that you and I were talking. You mentioned he does it pretty often in big singles matches. Maybe for me, it's just he's not in very many singles matches these days to where I don't really notice.
So it's very few. He hasn't had many singles matches since we started doing this show, but I've noticed in singles matches he's done it before.
Well, not with Young Lions. I know he does.
Right, no, but in like G1s or tournaments or whatever, he's done it before. Okay.
But I will say this. I have seen some people criticize this match, and we're not usually the hot take podcast or the podcast that's gonna like lash out. But I gotta tell you something. If you're one of those fans who rated this like 3 stars or less, then you're just biased at this point, and it's literally based on the fact that Yoshihashi is pretty much a geek and Tenzan is a New Japan dad, and you can't look past that fact. because in a vacuum, this match was arguably really, really, really good. And so, I think that anyone who rated this low is probably just got geek and dad bias at this point. Like that's got to be it, because I don't think that any reasonable person can watch this match, like actually watch it and think it was anything less than really good.
Yeah, if you're
like I don't see how.
If you're going below 3, then that's not it's not where it's at.
I don't even think it. I think it's got to be higher than 3. I think 3 is too low. Like I could see how some people might go 3 1/4, and I know things are wonky because we're in an empty arena. But I mean, if someone went 4 stars, I really wouldn't argue with them, honestly. Like I didn't go that high, but I wouldn't like say that they're way off base, because one thing that was awesome about this match, they hit each other really freaking hard. Like this is a hard fought, hard work match. I didn't expect this to be the hard hitting match of the night. I expected that to be like Evil Kojima or like Goto and Yujiro, but this match, it surprised me. I thought it was really good.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So from there we move on. We had 8-man tag action. We had the Chaos team of Okada, Sho, Ishii, and Toru Yano taking on the LIJ team of Hiromu, Sanada, Shingo, and Tetsuya Naito.
I just absolutely adored this tag match, and for one reason and one reason only. Hiromu versus Yano. Oh my God. There were so many moments. Like this was incredible, bro.
Yeah, so obviously we talked about last week, the callback to when Yano was kind of in his more, death match / hardcore evil gimmick, whatever you want to call it. And he shaved Hiromu's head when he was still a young lion prior to Excursion. And then Hiromu, suddenly got flashbacks and remembered that Yano did that. And so we've had this whole kind of build up with the promos. And then this matchup here where Yano busts out the razor and is trying to, shave his head again, and all the Yano antics and the interactions between him and Hiromu.
It was really great. My favorite part of the match was even before the match started, when Hiromu just walks out and he's like, you just see his eyes looking through the freaking the curtains, and he's just so shook, like he's shook to his core, and like he's just scared. And at one point, like when the rest of LIJ is making their entrances, he's like on the ground just crying and like wailing and like slamming on the floor, and no one else in LIJ is acknowledging or even like paying attention. It's like your little brother's throwing a tantrum and you just don't care.
Yeah.
Like you're like, oh, that's Johnny. Like, oh, that's Hiromu. Like, it was really great. And then the comedy between Yano and Hiromu, like the whole match was just centered around that. Like, I don't want to take too much away, because yes, we got really cool interactions between like one thing was like Sho had to fight off Shingo and Sanada because he has a feud going with Shingo and he beat Shingo, but he's also got Sanada in the next round. So that was kind of like an interesting thing going on there.
Mm-hmm.
Ishii and Shingo were interacting quite a bit. Okada and Sanada had some good interactions, but the interesting was Naito and Okada. Kind of, big, what's the word?
Big
they're
fight
enemies.
feel?
No, just that they're enemies with one another, and they're rivals. So you can kind of feel that rivalry all throughout the match here. But all that was great, but it really did take a huge backseat to Yano and Hiromu. Like, that was the story of the match.
Yeah, I think that was what they were really trying to get over here, especially with that match being the next day. So there's a lot of emphasis here on this Hiromu-Yano rivalry. Towards the end, they end up brawling out throughout the concession area. Yano pulls out tapes Hiromu's legs together. You got Okada running out there to try and get them back in the ring so they don't get counted out, but it was too late. And we got a double count out here, so we had a draw.
Yeah, and they're doing comedy like next level. Like, I don't know anyone who's like as physically funny as Hiromu Takahashi when it comes to like just his selling and his facials. Like, he is hilarious. Him and Yano is gold.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty funny. Like, instead of like trying to like cut the tape and get him out, like Naito and Shingo just like picked him up, all taped up, and let's like carried him to the back.
So after that, we got the intermission. Once we came back from intermission, we got the third and semi-final, the co-main event, or, undercard. I don't know what the word is.
Semi-main.
So God, why am I forgetting words today? So we got Hiroki Goto versus Yujiro Takahashi.
Yeah, I thought this match was a fine little match. You have Hiroki Goto, Mr. New Japan Cup. Goto can turn it on when he wants. You have Yujiro, who really hasn't, put out any, highlight matches in quite some time. And
I think the last really good Yujiro match that I remember is the New Japan Cup match he had with Juice 2 years ago.
Mm.
And that was like a first round match. And he got knocked out. And yeah, I thought that match was pretty good. I didn't think that the Goto Yujiro match was quite to that level. But with that being said, I thought it was good. I would say better than Bushi Yo. But at the same time, because it was never really in doubt for me whether Goto was moving on. I don't know, why I felt that way. I just did. And Yujiro had heaters out there, right?
He had Jado out there with the cane, yeah.
Bro, I gotta tell you, Bullet Club is not feeling like any sort of anything at all during this tournament whatsoever. I mean, I don't know, man.
All the key members are not there.
Yeah, you don't have Kenta, you don't have Jay White, you don't have God, and without those three components, I don't know. Bull Club just feels weak as fuck. Literally. And even when you have all those guys, it still kind of feels I don't know what this is. When you kind of look, I think us looking back through the history of the past, couple months has kind of reminded me what Bull Club used to be and could have been and what they're not anymore.
Right.
And it also feels in the past few months, it's kind of taken, I think with Jay White, ever since he lost the IWGP title, it's also not really felt quite like what it was. When he first took over, it was one thing, but since then, I'm not totally sure, But with that being said, Goto got past Yujiro. Yujiro he cheated a lot. I feel this was a match that I think would have done fine in front of a Korakuen crowd.
Yeah, you would have had the crowd booing when Jado's getting interfering and pulling the foot and hitting him with the cane and stuff like that.
But this is a match for a crowd, and it was sort of to be honest with you, watching it, I was kind of a little bored.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't hard hitting, it wasn't fast paced, a lot of interference. Yeah, it was fine.
But even still, I thought it was good. I'd still go 3.25 on it, but it wasn't egregiously bad. I don't think that they overdid the. I don't think it was full of too much fuckery or anything like that. It's just there's no crowd, so I don't know that the style of wrestling match that they're doing really works as well in that context. I thought the end of the match, the close of the match, was good, just almost most New Japan matches. But at the end of the day, I'd still go 3.25. I thought it was good.
Yeah. So then we move on to the main event of the evening. We had Evil taking on my man, the leader of the Bread Club, Satoshi Kojima.
I like this match a lot.
Yeah, I thought this was a very good main event. Kojima is another one of those New Japan dads who's obviously not in the prime, but went out here and gave it his all. They worked the match around what he can still do really well, and he went out there. I think it was hard hitting. I thought Kojima showed a lot of great intensity. You had Evil out there. He had to cheat to beat Kojima, attacking this man's arm with a chair. He couldn't handle the strongest lariat, so he had to get a chair and try and break down Kojima here.
Yeah, that's one thing. If you're having a match in an empty arena, right? We talked about some of the ways that you can try to make it entertaining. One is to hit each other really, really hard, go super violent. Another is to keep it really short, and just be super snappy. But I think one thing people are underlooking is deep storytelling. And I thought that this match was kind of filled with that, a version of what I'm talking about. The fact that Evil was specifically targeting the arm that Kojima uses for the lariats and probably also for the chops for that matter.
Right.
That really gives a narrative that needs to be there. And, I was critical last week of, say, like Ibushi and ZSJ because it's lack of narrative. And I think that that's one thing here. It's like, if you're going to have no audience to kind of play off of and that sort of thing, there needs to be something that we as the viewers at home can really latch onto. And I think Evil and Kojima did a fantastic job of that. It's just building that narrative that Evil had a goal to take out Kojima's arm. And that's exactly what he did. Like, he used the chairs, he used his, resources on the outside, and that's exactly what he went for in this match.
Right. So, yeah, trying to break down the strongest arm. So, yeah, no lariats, no chops here. And pretty much avoiding all of Kojima's key offense. Kojima would go for these slingshot elbows, and Evil's moving out of the way, and kind of had Kojima really well scouted here. There was a cool spot where he attempted to do the Everything's Evil on the apron, and Kojima reversed it into a DT onto the apron. And, a real kind of good back and forth towards the end here. Eventually, Kojima, fighting back, coming back, hitting a brain buster for a near fall, trying to bust out the lariats. Evil would use, red shoes to do his the magic killer where he throws him up on red shoes.
Yeah.
So we had that spot there, and then it's flying down to the end where Kojima hits a lariat to the back, and he's going in for another one, but Evil just kind of catches him out of nowhere with the Everything is Evil STO and gets the pin here.
That's funny. Listening to Tama's Island, which is Tama Tonga's new podcast, that is something that he's alluded to, is the fact that, like, him and Tangaloa were, like, pretty pissed when they found out that, like, the LIJ was just going to start using the Magic Killer, because that was supposed to be a move that was, like, handed to them literally from Gallows and Anderson. And then, like, the next show after they left, like, LIJ was using it, and they're like, what the like, what?
Yeah, Evil and Sonata were like, oh, snatch, that's ours now.
They were like, yoink.
They said, I don't care. 30 years this biz.
But anyway, so I thought this match was like a really good pace. I didn't think it was super fast paced, but it wasn't too slow either. I thought these guys did a great job of just like mixing in the storytelling, mixing in the hard hitting action, classic wrestling match back and forth. Not that Kojima, I did hear you say earlier that like we didn't see too much arm based offense, and like that's kind of true. But towards the end of the match, Kojima did kind of still get in the machine gun chops. He did still like hit the lariat. It's just they were weakened.
Right,
he had to sell off of them, which was great. But the cool thing was like Kojima was even rallying at the very end of the match. He was still rallying and looking like he was on his way to maybe coming back, and then Evil just snatched him into that STO out of nowhere. Just boom, puts him down. 1, 2, 3. I liked the finish a lot because it was a definitive win for Evil, but Kojima looked good, man. Like he looked like he was, he hung with him the whole 20 minutes, which was like pretty cool. If someone wanted to argue that this was their match of the night, I wouldn't really debate you on it, because I think it was pretty close to the Tenzan Yoshihashi match, and it was definitely a really good fitting main event for this evening. And the cool thing here, Victory Lap, we got every single prediction right for this portion of the bracket.
Yeah, clean sweep here. We both got all the predictions right here. This was my match of the night for me. And I thought Kojima looked really good here. And so Evil moves on.
Yeah, just like I said, your comfort food, bread and butter, New Japan Cup night. I wouldn't say it was like my best, the best night of the tournament or anything of that matter, but I liked it a lot. I thought it was good, and we move on. So we're moving on. We got Bushi taking on he's taking on Yoshihashi in the next round.
Yep.
And then after that, we've got Evil taking on Goto. So yeah,
good stuff.
This is not my favorite region, even though I thought this night was pretty good. Like those. I think Evil Goto could wind up being pretty good, but I don't have a lot of faith in Bushi and Yoshihashi. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that wraps up night 4 and round 1. Before we move on to round 2, we did get question emailed to us from one of our listeners, Tana Matapia. And so first off, he says, first just want to point out, last week, Young Boy, you stated both Ishimori and Goto were in new gear for the New Japan Cup. Makes me wonder if you watch Wrestle Kingdom, Young Boy, LOL. They're both wearing the same gear they wore for Wrestle Kingdom. Only thing new is Ishimori's headgear. I suppose I'll cut you some slack and chalk it up to it being so long since their last show. Just rusty, and the only opinion was for me was to Japan explain it to you. To borrow what must currently be your uncoined catchphrase, nah, I'm just playing. Ha ha ha.
Yeah, you better throw in a nah, I'm just playing, because I'm about to be like, wait. Every single week we're on this show. Every single week people be asking me these obscure ass questions about shoot fights and historical references and what's the significance of FMW and what's the significance of, rings and blah 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 blah. And I don't even prepare for any of this shit. And I come out here and off the dome just tell you guys what I remember and be like, yo, if I messed up, y'all hit me up. And then this man Tana Matopia want to talk about some mid-carders, like attires from January at Wrestle Kingdom. Like, dude, I don't remember what Goto and Ishimori wore. I don't even remember what matches they were in at. What matches were those two guys in at Wrestle Kingdom, bro?
Ishimori was a team of ELP against Roppongi 3K. Goto.
I kind of remember that. I know it wasn't that good.
Did Goto face Kenta, right? For Never title?
Oh, yeah, that match that a lot of people want to pretend like it was really good, but it really was not that good.
Yeah.
I remember that now. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the Goto Kenta match.
Honestly, I don't really remember it, to be honest.
I think it was, night 2?
I think so.
Yeah, this man said, I'm going to cut you some slack.
So now on to his question. He says, of all the first round New Japan Cup matches we've seen, in your opinions, which matches have overachieved / exceeded expectations, and which ones have been the biggest disappointments? For him personally, he can't believe how much he enjoyed Yoshihashi and the Tenzan match. They both worked their asses off, and what I expected to be a must-get match of the first round became one of my favorite matches of the first 4 nights. As far as disappointment, Okada and Gedo was 10 times the snorefest that I expected it to be. It felt so forced, contrived, and just about every other adjective that we've typically associated more so with WWE matches rather than NJPW. Also, Taichi and Tanahashi did not measure up to the lofty expectations. Overall, it was much too long for such a slow-paced match. Anyways, keep up the great work, boys. Thanks.
Well, I like his question a lot, so I'm going to take back some of the negative vitriol that I was spewing earlier. No, I'm just playing, but I guess I do say no, I'm just playing a lot. You know what? one thing one thing my girlfriend pointed out is I say the handwriting's on the wall a lot on the show. And she's like, the saying is the writing is on the wall. And I was like, yeah, but I don't like that. It's the handwriting is on the wall. And we had a discussion. I was telling her, like, it's a Bible story. And I was like, because they saw a hand writing on the wall. And she's like, yeah, but that's not handwriting. I was like, but to me it is. The handwriting's on the wall.
It's your gimmick. It's your catchphrase. You do you.
Well, dude, I thought this whole time I was like saying something that was like a common colloquial statement, and now I'm realizing I invented this shit. So it's mine now. But what's your opinion on this question that Tanamatopia asked us?
Yeah, great question. As far as biggest disappointment for me, I think we
overachieved, exceeded.
So overachieved
or disappointed, yeah.
So I'll start with the negative first. So my biggest disappointment was Ibushi and Sabre. It was one from day one that I had circled. I'm like, these guys have great chemistry. Empty arena match with Sabre being submission guy and Ibushi being a striker. It could be sort of like an MMA kind of shoot fight, and you kind of focus in on the action. Like, it's going to be a really good match. It's going to be, top match of first round, and it wasn't that. I was definitely disappointed by that match.
I would agree with you, but I gotta go as far as disappointment. Nothing disappointed me as much as having to sit there and sit through that entire Taichi freaking Tanahashi match. Like, my God. For all the reasons that you mentioned, I agree as far as the Zack Sabre and Ibushi match. But ultimately, even though I didn't really like the match, it is quote unquote arguably still good. But I thought that Tanahashi and freaking Taichi was actively bad personally, and it was much, much too long. I think it was the worst of all the main events through the first 4 nights of the tournament. Oh, no, it's not. No, it's not. I'm sorry. Because even though it's bad, Tanamato Pia is right. I wouldn't say that Okada and Gato disappointed me, quote unquote, but it was bad.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't have high expectations for that match, but yeah, it was rough to get through.
It wasn't as funny as I hoped and thought it might be. So in that regard, it did kind of disappoint me. But yeah. But I think that's my biggest disappointment. As far as overachieved, I think I gotta agree with him. I think Yoshihashi and Tenzan was the most overachieving match in my book, because I did think it was going to be a let's just skip this match, and I wasn't going to like it at all. I thought it was like potential to be one of the worst matches of the tournament, and it's far from it. It's not the best of the tournament, but as far as its aptitude, it well overachieved what it should have.
For me, I'm gonna have to go with Honma and Hiromu. That was one.
That's a good pick.
I did not have high expectations for it. I'm like, Hiromu's gonna have to, get through this match and, make it as good as possible. But that was a banger, and it was a really, really good match, and one of my favorite matches from the first round of action. And that was another one where I know Honma's not quote unquote a New Japan dad, but I kind of lump him in that category, and he kind of, rewind the clock and had a great match with Hiromu.
You know what? I totally forgot about that, and I agree with you 100%. That's another match that I thought was really fantastic, and I know you liked it a lot too. And I saw people underrating it, and I think, again, geek/dad bias. People know that Honma's not good, and they have, and especially newer fans who don't have the attachment or memories of what he was, watch it and they hand wave it before. I think there's a lot of fans who I just think are not giving some of these matches a fair shake, to be honest with you, because that one was really, really, really good, and so was the one that I mentioned, and a lot of people kind of didn't give it that kind of, they I don't think those got their due. Unfortunately, I think they're underrated.
Definitely.
Great question. And I agree. Yeah, I didn't like Tanahashi and Taichi.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was fine. Definitely could have been better, but
bro, it was long, and they've had really good matches before.
Yeah, could have been better.
I hated it.
All right, so now we're gonna move on to night 5, and night 5 would open up the second round of the New Japan Cup 2020. In the first match of the night, we had the Bone Soldier, aka Shredder, Taiji Ishimori, taking on his old rival in Yoshinobu Kanemaru. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, interesting story here. Ishimori and Kanemaru both coming from Noah, where they spent the majority of their careers there. We've mentioned on the show before, but it's not the most widely known thing. Yoshinobu Kanemaru is, kind of seen as like a longtime ace of the junior division in Noah. And when he was on top and Ishimori was kind of making his way up, Kanemaru always had his number, was always kind of the guy that beat him. And Ishimori was never able to kind of get the big win in singles competition over Kanemaru. With that even being the case, once they made their way to New Japan, they faced each other twice previous during Super Juniors, and New Japan has done a really great job kind of keeping that narrative going because, they've never given Ishimori a singles win over Kanemaru. And so it seems like this might be the time when they do it, just kind of looking at the field. But at the same time, it's the opener of, the first night of the second round. You got to figure if it's an opener, they're probably not getting a lot of time. Like, how good is this actually going to be,
Right.
And is there a chance that they kind of go with the old faithful booking and give Kanemaru the upset win? Like, it was totally possible. And that's sort of what I was kind of thinking might happen. But, luckily, they kind of got Kanemaru to get Ishimori to get the Kanemaru monkey off of his back, and he was able to pick up his first singles win over Kanemaru here. And I thought the match was okay. It was fine for an opener.
Yeah, so like you mentioned, coming into this match, they were 11-0, in singles matches. Taiji Ishimori not able to beat Kanemaru in 11 matches, and so it was kind of a big kind of deal for him to finally try and beat Kanemaru. Started off the match with the Suzuki Gun jumping, where Kanemaru jumps Taiji in the entranceway as he's coming down from the stage there, attacks him there, and gets the advantage over Ishimori. So in a way, Ishimori's kind of playing babyface here, and he's having to fight from underneath and come back and, really sell this beating from Kanemaru until he can finally, mount some offense and come back and, avoid getting hit with a deep impact and then hit the bloody cross.
Yeah, and the thing there is they created a lot of a doubt as well because they had Kanemaru sort of in control through the majority of the match. And like you mentioned, they kind of had Ishimori as the babyface de facto. Even though these are both heels, he was sort of like the face in peril. And Kanemaru really targeted the legs and was looking to set up the deep impact. There was one moment where he went to hit the Satori surprise.
Yeah.
And Ishimori covered his mouth. And he kind of scouted him. He knew that was coming, and he made him drink all the whiskey, which I thought was like pretty funny and pretty smart. The match wasn't blowaway. I guess it's sort of a whimper in a way to kind of like have this guy's first major singles win over his old nemesis being a 9-minute opener. But that's just kind of where they are in their careers at this point. Like Ishimori is like one of the top stars in the junior division, and like Kanemaru is not quite that anymore. His best days are behind him.
Yeah, but I thought this was a really good opener. It was pretty short. It was 9 minutes 18 seconds, so it had a fast pace. It told a very good story of Kanemaru kind of doing whatever it takes to kind of keep that winning record over Ishimori. Ishimori having to fight back valiantly and come back to beat the dastardly Kanemaru and get the win here. So I really enjoyed this.
Yeah, I agree.
So moving on, we had more second round action with the Stone Pitbull Tomohiro Ishii taking on Togi Makabe.
Yes, so this is a continuation of an age-old feud. These two guys have been in the Never division and faced off against one another. Like, I don't even know, like, probably close, like in excess of 15, maybe even 20 times. Like, so they're no strangers to one another. They always have great matches. And I think Ishii is one of the few guys in the company still that knows how to work the style to easily draw out a great match of Togi Makabe at this current time. And that's exactly what he did here. These guys, were kind of expected to deliver a really good match, and they absolutely did. I was on the edge of my seat. This is super hard hitting. I went 4 stars on it, and it was them playing the hits, but the hits are still the hits, and it was still really, really, really enjoyable.
Yeah, this match, it was very hard hitting. Togi Makabe, has been doing great in this tournament. He's really working hard. I think that once again the break did really good for him, and he just came out, had a really good match here, and he we get a lot of criticism on Makabe because he doesn't really bump a lot. It's kind of the inside joke, how many bumps is Makabe going to take tonight? Well, in this match, in the Tsuji match, he was bumping a lot and, was fired up and doing a lot of cool stuff that he normally doesn't do in his matches at this stage in his career. And, you got him, doing top rope, belly-to-belly suplexes off the top rope and fighting spirit spots and no selling. And it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was really great. And here's the thing, too, is like at the end of the day, regardless of what you want to say as far as like Makabe's ability to go in the ring is at this point, they have protected him in the booking so much so, especially as his finishing maneuver, that he's still at the point where, he's not going to win every match. But if he hits you with the King Kong knee drop, I don't care if you're Yota Tsuji or you're Kazuchika Okada, you are going to lose. That is the magic of the King Kong knee drop. It's one of those few sacred, protected finishers, along with like Fale's Bad Luck Fall is
Yeah.
another one.
Mhm.
You know, there's certain guys who can go into, say, a G1 and always have that, that smoking ace. Like, they can hit you with one move and that be it. And so, yeah, it was pretty much assumed Ishii was going to continue. But at the same time, there's always that little bit of doubt that it's like, man, if this guy goes to the top rope and he lands this thing, it is going to be it. It's going to be a wrap, and it's going to be lights out for Tomohiro Ishii. And fortunately, Ishii did get past him. I do want to congratulate Gato for having incredible matchmaking ability here, because think about the two guys he put Makabe in there with. Yota Tsuji, young lion, big, burly, hard hitting, perfect guy. As who's a young lion, to get a good, match out of Togi Makabe, make him look really good. And then Tomohiro Ishii, who's one of the best in the business at working that style, probably the best in the world. So, out of all this, even though Makabe's, kind of not continuing, obviously, he had a super great accounting of himself. And a lot of it is based on the fact that they accentuated his positives and hid the negatives.
Right. Yeah, one spot I really love in this match was when Ishii German suplex Makabe into the turnbuckle. Like, the match just kicked into another level from that suplex spot. And then from there, they just kind of went ham with the strikes and the suplexes. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was just, if you've ever seen an Ishii Makabe match, this is right up there with all of them. And it's them playing the hits. It kind of reminded me in a way of what happened at the G1 in Dallas this year when we saw Tanahashi and Okada. It wasn't the best match they ever had, but it was them playing the hits. And them playing the hits is still fantastic, and that's what Ishii Makabe is. It's one of the most storied and, revered rivalries of the Never division in New Japan ever. Like, these are two hosses that just kick ass. It's awesome.
Yep, so like you mentioned, Ishii gets the big win here with the vertical drop brainbuster, and we'll move on to the next round of the tournament.
Yeah, and you know what that means. Ishii moves on. We only need one other key win to get the dream match that we've been hoping for since we saw this whole thing start.
Wait, which match?
Hiromu and Ishii. All we need at this point is Hiromu to win one more, and that's it. It's done deal.
Yeah, we're right there. So moving on, we had a 6-man tag match in between the tournament matches here. We had Tanahashi teaming up with Ibushi and Ryusuke Taguchi to take on the Suzuki-gun team of Doki, Taichi, and Zack Sabre Jr.
Gotta tell you, Jeremy, I don't often do this, but for time constraints, I skipped this match. I was kind of like, I don't know. I don't see anything here that's too interesting. I think I got my fill of Dangerous Techers and Golden Aces the night, a couple nights prior to this. So I didn't watch it. Did I miss something? Was it good?
I mean, it was a fine 6-man tag. I mean, nothing blow away. I don't think it's worth going back to rewatch. Taguchi hits Dodon on Doki to get the win for his team. Then post-match, Sabre and Taichi attack Tanahashi and Ibushi. They teased hitting a belt shot, but then Taguchi jumped in and grabbed the belts. And then Tanahashi and Ibushi recovered, and Taichi and Sabre bailed. So, once again, it's continuing to set up that rivalry. Obviously, we got Taichi and Ibushi we're facing off this coming up week, and then there's also the potential tag title match down the line at some point as well. So,
yeah, I mean, that's exactly what I figured. I saw this on paper, and I was like, they're gonna, obviously they're gonna build to the big match between Ibushi and Taichi, and obviously we've got a tag match that's somewhere on the horizon that they've been teasing since February. But other than that, there didn't seem to be a lot of heat here. Like, I was just like, no reason for me to watch. Ain't nothing for me here.
So from then, we had intermission. We had the Way of the Grandmaster video again, and then we
bro, have you thought about what if the Grandmaster is someone that we're not expecting? Like, what if it's Rusev?
We could be, and we do have a question about that later on. I mean, exactly.
What if Rusev is like adopting a Shaolin monk like gimmick, and he's coming in like the Last Airbender?
Could be. I think a lot of us, we're assuming the guy that's fighting in the woods is the Grandmaster, but it could be maybe that's one of the Grandmaster's students, and it's just a video to build up the Grandmaster, and when it's revealed it's somebody that's not Kawato, it's somebody else.
Can you think of any great wrestlers that have the name Master in their name? Bro, because the first thing I hear when I think of Grandmaster is the Shockmaster.
Oh, I think of Grandmaster Sexay.
Oh. You know, Brian Lawler was pretty good, actually. He threw a good working punch. He is from the Memphis territory. They all throw good working punches, so he had that going for him.
He had that top rope leg drop. That was pretty good.
Bro, they were over.
Yeah, too cool.
Bro, too cool was freaking over. Like, I don't know if people remember, but they were really, 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 really over. But even still, like, I can't think of any great wrestlers that have the name Master in their name. Like, that feels like you're just setting yourself up for failure by having the word Master in your name.
Right. Also think of, Ringmaster, Steve Austin.
Well, he was pretty great. Yeah, the Ringmaster.
But that gimmick wasn't going to take him to the main event, though.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah, this Grandmaster thing's pretty precarious. Like, I don't know. If I was betting man, I'm not saying it won't work, but if I had a bet, I wouldn't bet money that it would.
Well, yeah, we'll see what happens with it.
We'll see.
So next up, we had a lot of people's favorite match of this night: Hiromu Takahashi taking on Toru Yano.
Bro, they just continued to build on. That's the thing with great rivalries is, one match builds off of another, and it just continues to grow from there. And the payoffs are just so satisfying. And that's what we got here, Once again, Hiromu comes to the curtain, and he is shook to his core, giving us the same facials as the night before. The big difference, though, is he has the hard hat on this time. He's protecting his hair, protecting his curly locks. And I don't know if you remember this, Jeremy. When we first started the show, when Hiromu first came to the company, he went on that monster roll. He, beat Kushida, and then he was kind of like the junior Brock Lesnar. Like, he was just, murking everybody every single month. He murked, Ricochet and Taguchi and all these guys. And then it wasn't until, Super Juniors they started suffering losses. And then eventually he did drop the title. And once he dropped the title, every month after that, every big show, he'd come out and try to, challenge for the title. And he'd try to come out and challenge for the title. And Marty Scurll broke his fingers. So then the next time he comes out, he's got karate gloves on. And then someone, I think it was Will Ospreay, poked him in the eyes. So the next time he came out, he had a face mask on. And then finally, that's how they eventually set up the match between the four-way at Wrestle Kingdom.
Yeah.
Is he kept trying to come out and get his title shot every month, and different guys kept beating him up. And so he came out to challenge for the four-way, and he had full on karate body gear. He had a head mask on and gloves
yeah.
and knee pads. It was fucking ridiculous. And that was always that was a total different side, a comedy side of him that people hadn't seen at that point. That's kind of what we got here. Is this dude came out with a freaking construction hard hat on. That's gonna first off, how is that legal? You're gonna wrestle in a hard hat? Did the IWGP approve this?
Yeah, dude. I don't know what's going on here with the IWGP and the officiating. Oh yeah, Hiromu comes out with the hard hat, and then Yano comes out, and I think Yano stole Triple H's magic spray. He got this spray bottle.
What was the deal? I keep hearing. I don't follow WWE. I know he said that they had a spray that just they could spray it and it would disinfect, kill COVID or something.
Yeah, he's talking about this magic spray, or I don't even call it that, but it's this spray that they've been using to help prevent people from getting the virus and blah blah.
Well, that worked real well.
Yeah, well, because Yano stole a spray, so that's what happened there.
Oh, so they were using the spray and it was working perfectly. Yano went to America, stole the spray from Triple H. Well, and because Triple H only had the means to get one spray bottle that Yano stole, now there's 40 people in WWE with COVID.
Exactly, except Yano had Kushida send him the spray. It's sabotage, inside job. She's like, oh, you're not going to push me? Fine.
So are you saying that Kushida is the Chaos Mole inside of NXT?
Yes.
Oh my God. Bro, listen, that would make Yano the biggest heel in all of professional wrestling right now. No, that's not true. There's some pretty big heels after the last couple weeks, but those guys, it looks like most of those guys are leaving wrestling. So right now, Yano is the biggest heel in all pro wrestling. He stole the spray, and it's WWE, and now WWE. Everyone's got COVID because of Yano.
Yeah,
has nothing to do with them not allowing masks.
No,
has nothing to do with them not testing.
Not at all. None of that.
Not at all. None of that. Has nothing to do with the performers going out and going to, freaking amusement parks and not disclosing the facts of where they've been to the test. No.
None of that.
It was the magic spray that got stolen by Yano.
So, after the match starts, the ref takes the spray away from Yano. Yano pulls out some hair clippers, and Hiromu's terrified, and he's running and crawling under the ring. Yano's going after him. Hiromu eventually gets the clippers, and he tries to use them, but the battery's dead.
No, here's the funny thing. He takes his hat off because now he feels confident because he's got the clippers, and the clippers don't work. And then Yano has a grinning smile because he knows they don't work. And then he pulls out another set of clippers. He set this man, bro. He is a master trapper. He trapped this man, bro. Mm-hmm. He baited him. It's incredible.
Yeah. So he gets the second set of clippers, and he's going after Hiromu with them, and Hiromu hits a drop kick and sends Yano to the barricade. Then they're kind of going on from there, kind of back and forth. Yano exposes a turnbuckle. And pretty much kind of builds up to them fighting outside the ring and heading their way to the back area like they did the night before.
And, bro, they were given a lot of leeway here. Like, who was the referee? Red Shoes?
Yes, I think. Was it Red Shoes?
I don't remember.
No, I think it was Marty Asami.
Okay, whoever the referee was Marty or, whoever, they gave them a lot of leeway because they were on the outside for what felt like the majority of the match.
Yeah.
And at a certain point, once the clippers were gone, everything like that, then Yano pulls out shears and he's got scissors and he's freaking chasing this dude with I know WWE's about to name their Extreme Rules pay-per-view, the horror show. This is the real horror show. Yano chasing my dog Hiromu around with some sharp-ass fucking scissors. Like, it looked like he was going to put this man's eye out and put him out of the business forever. Like, It was scary.
Yeah, he ended up taping Hiromu to Yota Tsuji, young lion at ringside, and then he was finally able to.
And that's a callback. That's a callback to Mox and Shooter.
Yeah,
that's how he got Mox out of the G1.
Yeah. So he tapes him to Tsuji. He gets the scissors. He cuts a chunk off of Hiromu's hair, and he's so happy and he's celebrating. They fought to the backs, and Tsuji still taped Hiromu this whole time as they're fighting in the back. So Hiromu's just kind of, dragging Tsuji along on the brawl. And then
this is how I know that Hiromu is a better and smarter, wiser, and more resourceful wrestler than Jon Moxley because he was able to fight through all of the shenanigans that Yano threw his way. Moxley succumbed, just took that L, that big fat L. He just took it.
So then Hiromu, he used tape to blindfold Yano, tapes him up, and then he pushes him in the elevator, pushes the elevator to go down or up, which direction? I think down.
It was down, and here's the funny thing: before he didn't push. Think about it. In order to get it to go down, and it went down like 5 floors, someone had to actually go inside. The man who did that was Tsuji. Hiromu told Tsuji to go in there and hit the down button, and he did it. Like, I got a feeling here that Tsuji might be Hiromu's new shooter. Like, that's what this is starting to feel like to me.
Yeah, it could be. And so, Yano goes down there, and finally the refs decide to start counting, and they get the 20 count. And, Hiromu and Tsuji are still, taped together. So they're like hobbling. It's like the 3-legged race. They're like hobbling and running back to the ring. And at 19, they finally figured out how to get in the ring at the same time. They jumped in, and then Hiromu wins the match by countout.
Yeah, and the great thing with that is the night before, the tag team match obviously ended in a double count out. Easily this could have happened. And if that had happened, we're talking about Ishii going in fresh to a, semifinal main event. So luckily we didn't get that, that result here. These guys figured out how to get into the ring. They did it successfully. And, another time. So we've got, earlier this night, we've got a story of Ishimori kind of overcoming his demons and beating Kanemaru. And on this night, same thing with Hiromu. He was able to overcome his greatest heavyweight test to date in Toru Yano, and he's going on to the quarterfinals against Ishii.
Yeah.
And it's like, you got to ask yourself, what's scarier? Yano with clippers or Ishii with just nothing, just himself?
Yeah, it's a close call there. We saw Yano with the clippers, and Yano was just pulling these clippers out of the tights. He had a bunch of them. And obviously the first set was a dud, but the second set we saw was working. So I gotta imagine that was the Lawnmower 3.0 that Yano pulled out.
Listen, man, let me tell you something. If it was, in fact, the Lawnmower 3.0, the one thing he doesn't have to worry about is battery life, because that thing has battery life that is built to go. And thank God he wasn't able to use those clippers on Ishimori or on Hiromu, because we saw what he did with just a pair of shears. But had it been the Lawnmower 3.0, we'd be talking about a bald-ass Hiromu, because that's the kind of close, clean shave you get when you use the Lawnmower 3.0.
Yes, the Lawnmower 3.0. It's the master, just like Toru Yano. It's a master of shenanigans. The Manscaped team, they spent 18 months perfecting the greatest ball hair trimmer ever created. And the Lawnmower 3.0 is new and improved third-generation trimmer. Features a cutting-edge trimming blade to reduce manscaping accidents. So no nicks, none of that. The thing of the past. It's premium stuff here. Like you mentioned, 90-minute battery. So if Yano had Hiromu in the ring, he could have went all night and just shaved that man clean.
Just like Ric Flair used to say, all night long. Ric Flair was a 60-minute man. Well, Manscaped is a 90-minute man, because it goes the extra time. It puts in extra time.
Yeah, so you can check out manscaped.com. Use our code SUPLEX. You get 20% off and free shipping. You can be like Toru Yano. You can pull out Lawnmower 3.0s out of nowhere, and just, you never know, when you face your rival, you might want to be like Yano. You might want to shave your rival's head, or you just might want to take care of yourself and groom. Either way, you can get the Lawnmower 3.0 for 20% off and free shipping by using our code SUPLEX.
Let me tell you guys something. It's the same thing I'm going to say every single week. This is something that you need to be doing anyways. You need to be grooming. You need to be taking care of yourself. And in order to do that, you need the right tools for the trade. And let me tell you, there's nothing else that's on the market in this price range that is going to be as effective for you. And with the deal that we're giving you guys, 20% off plus free shipping, you want to take advantage of it, because it's just like my friend Floyd Johnson says on his show, clean balls are happy balls. And that's what you want. That's what you want, is to take care of yourself. Make sure that the important people in your life, like your loved one, is also happy with the results. They trust me, they will be. And we're hooking you up. So support this show, hook us up. Go to manscaped.com. They have just so many really, really incredible and great products. The deodorants and the different spritzers, and even the case that they have is really great. They've got the weed whacker for your nose. Like, they're going to hook you up on every single level, and 20% off. Yeah. Suplex. That's the code.
It's Toru Yano approved.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we have a few questions here from this match. So first from Reddit user Highest Fly Flow. Do you guys think we're due one big payoff match between Yano and Hiromu, or should we just leave it here?
I think that this was just a short story that was, established for this tournament. At some point in the future, could I see them playing off of this again? Like, possibly, but I feel like this kind of was the payoff to the story. Yeah, personally.
I mean, we don't really know how much more times Hiromu's going to venture off in the heavyweight division this year or even next year. So we might not see them interact very much. I'm sure we might have some Chaos LIJ multi-mans. I think that would be kind of good to do that in those matches. to add some entertainment to those. But yeah, I think this was kind of the big blow off here, and I'm happy if they just kind of leave it here. But yeah, they could do stuff in the future as well.
I mean, how many more times do you want to see the story? Like, it was really great, but it would be diminishing returns, you know? I mean, what's the point? Like, Hiromu overcame him. He got the win. Like, I mean, the only thing that they could do that might be more entertaining down the line is give Hiromu the Lawnmower 3.0 and let him come up and shave Yano's head. Then, and maybe his eyebrows too. Then we're talking about like a true like Memphis, you know, Jim Crockett style story. I can get behind that.
And then we book a hair versus hair match.
If that's the way we want to go, that's the only way that I would be behind them, like giving another payoff. But other than that, you know, this is pretty good.
So a question from Josh number 2. He says, when Yano emerges from the elevator, how swiftly will he get his revenge?
Well, I'm sure he's already out of the elevator, and I don't think he has avenged anything. He took his loss.
Took that L.
Like a man. Yeah, he took that L. I hope he can see okay. I mean, I don't know what kind of chemicals might have been on that tape, like what kind of long-term damage it might do. Like, I hope his eyes were closed shut, you know?
Yeah. Next question from Reddit user, why did you do that, bro? Who do you see Hiromu dropping the belt to? Maybe Kawato return and beats him just like Hiromu did to Kushida.
You know, at this point, everything is super in flux just because we anticipated the year to go one way. Obviously, with everything that happened with the schedule, that's not the case. And we kind of saw Hiromu take the belt from Will. Will's in the heavyweight division. We saw him cleanly defeat his arch rival in Ryu Lee. And we kind of expected after that to kind of see new stories, new presentations, things of that nature. And we haven't really gotten there. And this tournament really hasn't produced any sort of storylines for the junior title as well. The only thing that I'm holding out hope for, fingers crossed, maybe like right now, the match between him and Ishii, we kind of spark the Ishii junior title division run that I've been talking about for years. But more realistically, it's probably not happening. So the only thing that I can think of is either, Kawato making his return as the Grand Master might be the impetus for them to lift the belt, sort of like what they did when Hiromu originally made his return. I got to imagine whoever the Grand Master is, if he's a junior, it's going to be a big deal because they only give these kind of title packages, you know, and return packages for people that are pretty important.
Right.
The other thing, though, is if Super Juniors does end up running, that might give us a lot more insight as to potential title challengers and somebody that might even be able to take the belt off of Hiromu. It's just unfortunate that up to this point, we've only gotten one title defense from Hiromu. Yeah.
It's one of those things where it's like, do you want to, you know, keep the belt on him so he can have a better reign and have more defenses, or do you just kind of, you know, advance storylines and kind of move along? I think El Desperado is the name. We saw him here against Ishii in the first round New Japan Cup. I think he's a guy that could potentially lift the title off Hiromu. They kind of have a history and a rivalry, and they could kind of relaunch that rivalry and have them maybe go back and forth with the belt, or just have a rivalry over the title the remainder of the year.
Possible, yeah.
So now we're going to move on to the main event of this evening. We had Kazuchika Okada taking on Blue Justice Yuji Nagata.
So this is a match where I think it's going to be a little divisive here because although I liked this match, I've got some problems with it. And I think that this is a match that you really liked, right?
Yeah, I really enjoyed this match. I thought it was a great main event.
Okay, so tell me, you know, maybe you can persuade me. Kind of tell me what you saw in this match and, you know, what your opinions were and, you know, why you liked it so much.
Yeah, so once again, with Nagata, I think it was a very hard-hitting match and him just putting in a great effort here. And then you just had this story of Okada, kind of similar to like the Shingo show story, where Okada's kind of taking Nagata lightly, and, you know, he's kind of wrestling, you know, the Okada match and kind of out-wrestling him and kind of has the advantage there. And then Nagata comes back and really fires up and is like, you know, I'm not going down this easily, and really fires up, and he's, you know, throwing the strong style. He's throwing the suplexes, the exploders, He's really fighting back, near submissions with the Nagata lock, and it's really coming back from behind and kind of just showing that fighting spirit and kind of being that old gunslinger and showing he still has a few bullets left and he's trying to go out on his sword here and not giving up.
Yeah, so this I agree with the story, and one nice little touch is Nagata came out with the robe, which I don't remember the last time he kind of came out with his robe. It's been a while, it seems like. So there was sort of that idea that like he was kind of trying to turn back the clock. I did do some research. I think on the show we've said multiple times that these guys have only wrestled each other like one other time, but I found that maybe it was more like two other times. But in any case, Okada's the only one who has any wins in the series between these two guys, and they've only faced each other in like G1 competition. So great matches in the past, but few and far between. These are not two guys that are very familiar with one another. But it's an interesting match because you've got the aging ace of the past in Yuji Nagata, and then the current ace of the company, the top guy in Kazuchika Okada. And, there's a compelling story that's there, obviously. I liked this match. I watched it after I'd heard a lot of buzz and a lot of praise for it. And that might have kind of been my undoing, just a tad bit. But here's the thing about it. I thought this match was a little overly long. And I thought that the style of wrestling they were doing was very good, but I didn't think it was very good for empty arena. And I thought it was something that would have played extremely well to a crowd, but without the crowd, this one was hard. This was a main event that was hard for me to actually invest into or get into. I thought it was your classic professional wrestling match. I just think I thought that this was your big match, house style, New Japan style wrestling match, and it didn't, to me, play very well in an empty arena.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, it played well. I thought they did a great job with the story, and I love the call back to the backdrop suplex. Like Okada goes for the Rainmaker. Nagata quickly hits the backdrop suplex. The difference here is he wasn't able to get the hole in the bridge like he was with Suzuki. So I think that that one thing there cost him from winning the match, and just Nagata selling when he was stuck in the head and arm triangle the first time. Like, I thought that was going to be the finish there, but he was selling so great and ended up fighting out of that. Then when he finally got caught a second time, just the selling there, and finally before he tapped out, he was fighting really hard to hold on, but had to tap out.
Yeah, and I don't want my criticisms to sound like I'm diminishing the match or anything of that nature. I still thought it was very good, but I saw people talking about one of the top matches of the entire tournament, and I think it was not quite there, personally. But yeah, I think all the story elements that you mentioned are what elevated the match for me and what kind of kept me invested. But the actual pace and tone of the match is sort of what it was, just a little too slow for my taste. It had that big, epic main event style feel that you get from an Okada match, and I don't think it played well to empty arena. Personally, I just don't. That's my feeling on it. I could be wrong. But, overall, I kind of have to wonder if Okada's style of match is going to translate well. Like, I don't know, man. I've got this feeling. I'm not saying Okada's going to win, but let me just throw this scenario out there for you. Okada wins. We get Okada Naito. No crowd. How good does that sound to you?
Well, there will be a crowd for Okada Naito.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. Well, let's just imagine there wasn't, for sake of my argument. Let's imagine Okada Naito played out in front of no crowd. I don't think that match is very good.
Yeah.
Maybe it's kind of good, but I don't know, man. That's just I saw a lot of 4s. I would have gone like 3.5 on this.
Yeah, I've seen kind of a lot of 3.5s. I was more in the 4-star range here. I thought it was a great, solid main event, great way to close the show off, and that's another kind of good outing for Yuji Nagata.
I will say that, not to take anything away from Okada, because Okada's great always. And I think in front of a crowd, I think this match would have been really good. Really, really good. I think this match was made for a crowd, is my problem. But Nagata's been fantastic. And I thought that Nagata was especially really captivating and compelling in this match. And we kind of got two sides of him. You know, we saw the kind of ass kicker and, you know, badass that he can be in the Suzuki match, but then we kind of got to see the classic traditional wrestler that Nagata has been and still is in this match with Okada. And his selling and his timing, his pacing, it was all just really, really great. Yeah, I thought he shined like a star here.
Nice. Well, that's going to transition us. So June is pretty much over for action, and we can actually do a Wrestler of the Month and Match of the Month again.
This is the first time since February we have had a Wrestler of the Month and Match of the Month.
And so, speaking of Yuji Nagata is going to be the Keeping It Strong Style June Wrestler of the Month with his performance against Suzuki and his performance against Okada. Having a main event match there and just putting out great effort and, being one of the standouts in the first 2 rounds.
Yeah, I mean, there's some other ways we could have gone. Sho obviously put on an incredible performance and had the biggest win of his career against Shingo, but that was one match. And then thinking of other options, Ishii was very high on the list, as he normally is. He was kind of the top performer in last year's New Japan Cup, and he's continued to have a fantastic performance this year. The match was with Desperado, and then the match with Makabe, both standouts. But I do think that the Nagata match with Suzuki sort of transcends both of those matches, and that's a big deal, especially at 52 for Nagata, and for him to get a big upset win, and then him to be in there for 20 minutes with, the top guy in the company. That tells you a lot. And just vintage, really great performances from Nagata. And I think he's the standout for the month of June.
Yep. And so then we have the Match of the Month, and this one we had a heated debate on this one. There's a lot of people had their favorites and their top matches, and it came down to Nagata and Suzuki and Sho versus Shingo. Nagata versus Suzuki was your favorite match. Sho versus Shingo was my favorite match. But I think we came to the decision that the Match of the Month will be Sho versus Shingo.
So here's the deal, ladies and gentlemen. Back in February, I wanted Ospreay and Zack Sabre Jr. Jeremy wanted Dragon Lee versus Hiromu. I acquiesced, and we named the Match of the Month Hiromu versus Dragon Lee. And now in June, I wanted Nagata Suzuki. Jeremy has chosen Sho Shingo, so I'm going to go ahead and prefer him and name Sho Shingo as well. But that means I have bent the knee on 2 occasions here, and I just want the record to show. No, in all seriousness, there was any sort of oversight here or these were bad choices, I would fight vehemently against them. But Sho Shingo was so fantastic, and so was Nagata Suzuki. You're talking, I mean, it's a toss-up, literally. It's 1A and 1B.
Splitting hairs, yeah.
It is splitting hairs. It's negligible. We did put out – now, I do want to throw this out there. You threw out a poll on Twitter asking for people to name their favorite match of the first round, and Sho Shingo did well, but it did lose by a vote or 2
by 1%.
to Nagata Suzuki.
Yeah.
So I just want to throw that out there. But let's talk about Sho Shingo real quick. Just fantastic, man. Just fantastic, hard-hitting, drama-filled, biggest upset of the first round. I loved it. I can't wait for them to do it again. Hopefully they'll be doing it again, at Dominion or sometime soon. We've been on the Sho Shingo bandwagon since Shingo came to this company day one, and that was kind of always the match to make. And, once it finally happened, it was fantastic. And now that's happened again. It's just as good. I love it.
Yeah, great story. We got the rivalry, their tag rivalry with Shingo and Bushi against Roppongi 3K, which built into Best of Super Juniors when they had their first singles match, and that whole story leading into this match, and just Sho was like a man possessed. He wanted to do anything possible to finally beat Shingo and prove that he can beat Shingo and be on his level, and that's going to open the door, like we said, to a potential never open weight title match, hopefully at Dominion. Yeah, I'm looking forward to these guys wrestling again.
Yeah, it's really cool how they're using Shingo as a tool and a goalpost, like a marker for Show to kind of measure himself and his improvements against. Like Shingo is the goal for Show.
Yeah.
Which is really awesome. So, yeah, I love that story. Heavily invested. I can't wait for them to do it again.
Nice. So now we're going to just quickly preview the upcoming New Japan Cup nights. So night 6 will be taking place on July 1st. We have more second round action here. So first up, let's talk about Taichi versus Kota Ibushi. And a friend of the show, Zach Porter, asked, by which method do you both think Taichi will beat that bum Ibushi on Wednesday? Stretch Plum or Black Mephisto?
Okay, first off, I don't really like the tone or just general attitude of this question whatsoever. We might need to put Zach Porter on question timeout for a little while. No, but I got to tell you, I think that there's a really good chance that Taichi actually does beat Kota Ibushi.
I mean, I think so too, because they're trying to set up that tag title match, and yes, Tanahashi did lose to Taichi already, so they kind of have a little stake there. But yeah, if Taichi beats Ibushi as well, it's like, all right, well, I just beat both half the tag champions. Me and Zach, if I don't win this New Japan Cup, me and Zach need to get a tag title match.
Yeah, when I was booking everything on, I had kind of at one point booked Ibushi to beat Taichi because I remember Ibushi and Sonata having really good matches during the G1. And I thought, Ibushi would be the perfect guy for Sonata to get past, to have some credibility, yada, yada. But then if you think about it, if Taichi is coming off of a win over both Tanahashi and Ibushi, that's huge for raising his stock individually. Not only does it create a lot of tension and doubt for the fact that maybe Dangerous Tekkers could beat the Golden Aces, and given the history of that tag division, they really could just lift the belts. Like, I know a lot of people are counting on this really long, lengthy Golden Aces run. Bro, we have no idea. Like, they hot potato that title around all the time. They might just put the titles on Taichi and Zach. Like, right. You don't know. But I don't see Taichi going to the finals of this thing. But what a boost that would be for him individually to have gotten back-to-back singles wins over Tanahashi and Kota Ibushi, Mm-hmm. And I think we were already on this sort of like track and trajectory last year. I don't know if you remember, we were in a group chat last year talking about Taichi being in the G1, and I think at one point early on I said it wasn't impossible for him to beat Jon Moxley, and like everyone was freaking out because a lot of people that we interact with kind of see Taichi as what he was a couple years ago and don't realize that this company has been really putting a rocket pack on him for a long time, Mm-hmm. And maybe I was a little like we say, we're always ahead. I might've been a little too far ahead in saying that he could beat Jon Moxley because everyone was like, that's ridiculous. And I was like, it's not that far off. But now look at where we're at. Like half a year later, maybe a year later, Taichi just beat Tanahashi. I think he's going to beat Ibushi. And a few weeks ago, I wouldn't have probably booked that, but now I think he might.
Yeah, I'm thinking Taichi gets the win here. And yeah, you elevate Taichi, you give him, bragging rights for a tag title match and other title matches in the future. Yeah, I think Taichi's the way to go here. And,
beating Kota Ibushi would do a lot for Sonata, obviously, but in the vacuum of the tournament, what's more impressive, beating Taichi coming off of back-to-back victories over the Golden Aces or Ibushi coming off of a victory over Taichi? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, because people at that point, if he beats Taichi, it doesn't really do Ibushi a lot of favors.
Right.
Everyone kind of expects that. But if Taichi beats those guys, he's surging,
and that gives you a chance to think that he can beat Sonata or Show.
And who knows? It's not like he couldn't.
Right.
I think that's a better story. I wish I would have booked it on my bracket, I think that whole top region is busting my bracket entirely. I think Taichi's beating Kota Ibushi. I don't know if it's going to be Stretch Plum or Black Mephisto. I think it's going to be some sort of cheating way, but I think he's going to win.
Yeah, we'll probably see Tanahashi and Sabre as seconds in this match, and I'm sure there'll be some kind of shenanigans and ref bump interference that'll eventually lead to Taichi getting the win.
Good call. What if Ibushi turns on Tanahashi and Suzuki hands the mantle over to him and it becomes Ibushi-gun?
I think that's highly unlikely.
So the next match of the round, we have Sonata versus Sho. Interesting matchup. We've got a junior who just beat a heavyweight taking on, proven commodity in this tournament and, heavy favorite to win the tournament in Seiya Sonata.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting matchup. And, yeah, Sho kind of brings, even though he's a junior, he kind of wrestles that strong style, never style. So I think he's going to be, the heavier striker between him and Sonata. But also I think Sonata might have a little bit of a speed advantage and just a technical wrestling, more kind of escapes and holds. And he's going to have to be the one to kind of slow Sho down, not eat a lot of damage from the strikes.
I will say this. I want to be consistent. Last week, I was kind of critical about the trajectory of Okada to hypothetically get to the tournament finals, right? And I still think that that's a high likelihood. Well, let's look at Sonata's trajectory real quick. If he does go all the way, he's going to have gone through a junior in Ryosuke Taguchi, who's not even like at the top of the juniors, and then Sho, who granted, yes, Sho is great, but Sho's not at the top of the juniors either. Yes, he did get a big win, but it was an upset, and he's still a junior. And then he's probably going up against Taichi, which, we already kind of voiced just a few moments ago, the perceptions on Taichi. And then after that, he might have his one true, heavy, person, but I mean, it's either going to be Goto, Evil, Bushi, Yoshihashi. This is not like Zack Sabre going through,
all the aces,
all those aces 2 years ago in the tournament. If Sonata and Okada end up fighting each other in the finals, which it looks like it might be, they will have had two of the easiest paths that I can ever recall in a New Japan Cup ever to get there.
It's rigged.
Which is it might be a little rigged. I don't know what to expect from Sonata Sho though as a match. It looks intriguing, but more so from a curiosity standpoint, not from an expectation standpoint. I know they both have the goods to go, but I don't know what that match looks like. I've got no idea.
Yeah, they have two very different styles, and they might not mesh well, especially in an empty arena setting. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this one plays out.
The big thing, though, is Sonata's definitely beating Sho. There is absolutely – I would, bet my life on it. That's how sure I am of it. Sonata is not losing the Sho, unfortunately. So we're definitely getting Sonata against either Ibushi or Taichi next.
Yeah, totally agree with you there. Then next up, we have Bushi versus Yoshihashi.
I don't have much to say here. I don't have high expectations at all. I know these guys both had good showings in the last, round. But this just looks like it's not going to be good. It's Bushi Yoshihashi. I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They are the counterparts of one another in their collective stables. So Bushi's the junior. He's losing to Yoshihashi. I feel pretty confident about that.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident as well. Yeah, he's going to eat a karma or get locked in that stupid butterfly lock, and Yoshihashi will move on.
And then here's the one, Goto Evil, that's a little bit harder to call. This will probably be match of the night. Goto and Evil, are two bruisers, heavy hitters. We've seen them wrestle one another several times in the past. Sometimes it's underwhelmed, but for the most part, I think that they always have pretty compelling matches against one another. So I expect them to kind of perform well, given it's a main event, opportunity for both of these guys. I think on my bracket I've got Evil going over, but I think Goto's going through.
Gotcha. I think on my bracket I also have Evil, and I think this is one of those where it could go either way. I think the main reason why I went with Evil is then you get that Evil Sonata matchup in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, I was kind of counting on there to be a lot of tension and a sort of storyline revolving around LIJ. And I mean, they've alluded to it briefly during one of the tags, but for the most part, it's sort of a non-story, if you want my honest opinion. So I don't really think we're getting the Evil Sonata finish anymore, personally. I think it is going to be Goto. And I think part of the reason why is because Goto has won this tournament more times than anybody else. He's a proven commodity. He kind of probably could actually use, like Goto and Evil are sort of in the same spot. Like they both could use it, so I'm not saying neither of them couldn't use it. But Goto's probably the guy that like they'll have Sonata beat to go to the finals, in my opinion.
Yeah, makes sense. Again, yeah, I think it can go either way.
He's the safer bet.
Yeah, I'm gonna stick with Evil. I'm looking for that Evil Sonata semifinal.
I think I would prefer an Evil versus Sonata match because at least at that point we've got partners who are familiar with one another, and I can sink my teeth into that a little more. But I just feel like for as many big upsets they do in this tournament, they love to do safe booking, and there's nothing safer than giving Goto a semifinal run to, face Sonata. That sounds like some serious ass Gato booking, does it not?
Yes.
So, excitement level for this night. What are you thinking?
I think it'll be a fine night. With Taichi and Ibushi, just all depends which Taichi we get. Like if we get big match Taichi, like that could end up being a pretty good match. But if it's going to be continued shenanigans, it might not be that great. And yeah, overall, I think it has potential to be a pretty good night.
All right. So for the rest of these reviews, night 7 and night 8, we've got a couple confirmed matches, but for the most of it, it's going to be speculation on our part. So let's see. So far during this tournament, we have done a pretty good job speculating. I think I went 13-3 during the first portion, like the first round of the bracket. I think you did as well. Mm-hmm. And so we're pretty close. And I think we can get pretty close to what is probably going to happen here as well.
Yes. And speaking of the brackets and the bracket contest, we still have one perfect bracket.
Oh, geez.
Out of
and
go ahead.
Do they have Sonata versus Okada as the final?
That's the one thing. I don't think they don't. I'd have to double check. But as of
because if they went Hiromu Sonata, they probably lost.
Yeah, I think they went Hiromu Sonata.
Oh, so did I.
But yeah, so as of right now, yeah, still one perfect bracket. So competition is stiff right now.
All right, awesome. So on night 7, July 2nd, we've got 2 confirmed quarterfinal matchups, and then 2 that are not confirmed yet. So how do you want to do this?
So let's talk about the 2 confirmed. So let's start with Taiji Ishimori and Kazuchika Okada.
So this is a match that on paper, some people are probably kind of looking at it and like, oh, well, it's Okada versus a junior, so you know exactly what's going to happen. And I agree with that sentiment. But this is one of the truly fun and compelling aspects to this inclusion of juniors in this tournament. The fact that we're getting unique, interesting matchups that we would just never, ever get any other time of the year. And, I mean, that's a cool-ass match. Ishimori versus Okada. We've seen what Okada can do with other juniors. The match with Marty Scurll at All In kind of comes to mind. Not saying that this would be that, because that was an epic, like, 35, 40-minute match. But, dude, Ishimori, he's been looking I had some complaints about him prior to the layoff because he kind of was looking banged up and wasn't like wrestling the way he had before. But since the return, he's looked silky smooth. He looks like the Ishimori of old. And I think he's got a chip on his shoulder, something to prove going up against, the ace of the company in Okada. And I think that he's probably going to look to make this a breakout performance for him. And it's one of those, like, just a match that looks really, really fun and interesting.
Yeah, definitely agree with you. I'm really looking forward to seeing how this match kind of plays out. Yeah, I think this is kind of a big moment for Taiji, and yeah, I think he's another guy that's benefited from time off. I know he got banged up during Best of Super Juniors last year and never really fully got to 100%. And kind of stuck in the tag team division with ELP. He was kind of able to work a little bit of a lighter, match style. But yeah, he seems to be 100% now and having some good matches. So yeah, this match with Okada could be a big breakout for him.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And are there any chances? I mean, what are your expectations? Could we see an upset here from Ishimori?
I don't think so. I think it'll be a good back and forth match, but at the end of the day, it's going to be Kazuchika Okada hitting a Rainmaker 1, 2, 3, and putting away Taiji Ishimori.
Okay, awesome. So after that, we've got the big expected match between Tomohiro Ishii and Hiromu. This is sort of a dream match. Jeremy, what are your thoughts with that one?
Yeah, so I think this one is definitely, one to circle as one of the top matches of the tournament. I think it's going to be just a great back and forth action. We've kind of seen a little bit of kind of comedy, Hiromu with the Yano, and even in the Hanma match, even though that was a little bit more of a kind match, we still saw kind of a playful side of Hiromu in that match. And so I think we're going to kind of get, serious kind of, ticking time bomb killer Hiromu in this match. And I think it's going to be a great back and forth. I think we're going to kind of see something very similar to what we saw with Ishii and Desperado, where Ishii is, giving a lot to Hiromu and making it look believable that Hiromu could beat him.
Yeah, this is one that I am expecting to just literally be a banger. I can't explain how excited I am for this. This was the one thing that when I was looking at the brackets, I just said to myself, like, this looks on paper to be one of the most compelling matchups possible. And, there's just certain things that had to fall into place in order for it to happen. And I'm so glad that it is finally happening, and I can't wait for this match to take place.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. So now for the 2 quarterfinal matches that we don't know yet. So based off of our kind of booking here,
well, before we get there, what are your predictions? Because we didn't talk about that. So I mean, we know the match is going to be great. I think it might be a match of the year contender. That's how confident I am of the 2 people, participating. But we're looking at, based on our projections, the winner facing Okada in the semifinal. But are we looking at an interstable match between Ishii and Okada, or Hiromu's a junior? Is he going to be able to win he's beaten 2 heavyweights here, but Ishii is an established, serious, multi-time champion at heavyweight. Like, is it even feasible that Hiromu could beat him?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, honestly, with the size, it's not really that much of a difference, honestly, between those 2 guys. It could be one of those things where maybe Hiromu pulls up. It's not like a definitive win, but it's like a schoolboy or some kind of lucha cradle that he kind of rolls up Ishii with. So I do think there is a chance. I don't know how strong of a chance it is, but I think the more intriguing thing would be for Hiromu to beat Ishii, and then we get this Hiromu Okada semifinal match in which Okada has to beat an LIJ guy to get to the finals.
Yeah, and here's the thing. So a few different scenarios just to kind of play them out. So you've got Ishii. Ishii, if he does go through, he's going to be fighting his, stablemate in Okada. Those 2 guys actually had one of the best matches of the tournament the year prior when they faced off against one another. Okada obviously picked up the win there and ultimately won the tournament overall. But prior to that, Ishii had defeated Okada about 2 or 3, maybe even 3 or 4 years ago in the G1 when Okada was the world champion. And they were stablemates at that time as well. Ishii never got a shot at that title. And Ishii recently, during one of the Together Project, videos, was talking to Okada, and he said, when you win the title, are you ever going to give me that rematch? So there is kind of a playful story there, and the fact that like Ishii has beaten IWGP champions in G1s multiple times and never actually gotten, aside from the Kenny Omega match, hasn't really gotten his chance to get a rematch specifically against Okada. So, there is that thought there that's like, are they even going to go that way? Because they are stablemates, they have history, but we saw it last year. And if we are getting Okada Sonata hypothetically, do you want to go rematch and then another rematch? That seems kind of like overkill. Mm-hmm. Also, there is the idea that, like, think about it. If Ishii goes through, maybe he should win. And if he were to win, he is actually the one person that Naito, prior to this reign, he's the one person that Naito had ever successfully defended the IWGP title against in the past. So they have a lot of, and we already know Naito and Ishii have a lot of history with one another. So I don't know if they do that again, So it just kind of seems like for those reasons, it might not be the right way for them to go with Ishii. But on the other end of things, if you end up with a Hiromu versus Okada match, then you're talking about the ace of the company facing off against the IWGP Junior Champion. And we kind of have always seen how those style matches play out in the past. Last year, when Will Ospreay was in the G1 as the Junior Champion, a lot of people were very behind Will and thought, oh, this is his chance to get a big upset win. And it would have been like the only time that the Junior Champion beat, at the time, Okada was the IWGP Champion, but there is a history where the Junior Champion might not beat the IWGP Champion, but they have beaten top draws. One name that comes to mind specifically is Fergal Devitt. In the past, during G1s, he has defeated guys like Okada and Tanahashi when they were not the champion.
Right.
So there is a precedent there that even though normally, if Okada was champion, I would say absolutely no way. Hiromu can't beat him. But because in the past, like Prince Devitt, when he was getting his super push, had beaten those guys, and in some cases clean, there is a chance that Hiromu could hypothetically beat Okada.
I'd love to see it. It'd be interesting.
So, I think obviously those are the two ways we're going. We're either getting Ishii and Okada or we're getting Hiromu Okada. What are you leaning more towards? What do you think's happening?
I'm going to go with Okada and Hiromu. Just like you mentioned, you don't want to do double rematches if we're getting Okada Sonata, which I think we are. So I think that would be the kind of fresh matchup there. And, have Hiromu pull another upset over Tomohiro Ishii and then go against Okada.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. On the left side of the bracket, we have projections for Hiromu Takahashi to beat Tomohiro Ishii. And then we have Kazuchika Okada going over Ishimori to set up a big semifinal match between those two gentlemen.
Right, which would happen on July 3rd.
Yep. And I think I put on my bracket, I had put Hiromu going to the finals, but I had projected him beating Nagata. It's much harder for me to believe he is going to beat Okada. It is not impossible, but I got to tell you, because of the story that I think they're telling, I don't think he's going to beat Okada, and I think we're going to see Okada win that side of the bracket.
I agree, yeah.
All right, so let's talk about the projections on the other side.
Right, so coming off of that night 1 or night 6 on July 1st, we're thinking Taichi's getting that win over Ibushi and Sonata getting the win over Sho, so then we could have a Taichi and Sonata quarterfinal match.
Well, I want to say this. We both believe Sonata's winning. I think what we both believe as well is that whether it's Ibushi or Taichi, neither of them are beating Sonata.
Correct.
And I think the main catalyst for our belief in that is that the winner of this tournament is probably will be going on to face Naito at, Osaka-jo Hall?
Yeah, Dominion.
Dominion. So for that reason, you kind of have to have either Ibushi or Taichi eliminated from the tournament because they can't be, involved in some sort in a tournament final and then even a title match. that would kind of detract from the potential tag title match that they have going on. So I think it makes all the sense in the world for Sonata to beat either one of those two. I think it's going to be Taichi. So we're kind of projecting Sonata to beat Taichi, right?
You're right.
Okay. And then what are we looking at on the other side of things?
So we have Yoshihashi beating Bushi, and then you were thinking Goto was going to get the win. I was thinking Evil was going to get the win. Either or.
This is where it gets iffy.
Yeah, either or. I think Goto or Evil will beat Yoshihashi.
Yeah, nothing sounds less compelling than having Sonata. When we talked about easy routes to the finals, can you imagine can you imagine how up in arms people would be if he went through two juniors and then Taichi and then Yoshihashi?
Yeah.
Come on, get the whole fuck out of here.
Yeah, people would not be down with that.
So it's got to be Yoshihashi because he's going up against a junior. Boom. And then it's either going to be Goto or Evil. And in either case, I think Goto or Evil are beating Yoshihashi.
Right.
When you look at the projections, whether it is Ishii or Okada or Hiromu in the finals, I cannot see any situation where any three of those guys end up fighting either Evil or Goto.
Right.
It just doesn't make sense. I mean, there is an argument that if you really wanted to put a strap on Evil, that you could go with him. But then my argument against that would be, why did they put him in the weakest region of the entire tournament with the least compelling matchups for him? So that would tell me right there that they're not doing that. And for that reason, Sonata is beating either Goto or Evil.
Right. So yeah, I think I don't know. I'm thinking we're going to get Sonata versus Evil, and then Sonata beats Evil to get to the finals.
I would prefer Sonata versus Evil, but I think it's Goto. But if it ends up being Sonata Evil, I would be happily incorrect in this matter. I'm just kind of going with the safe bet. I got a little too cute when I tried to book Okada to lose in the first round of this tournament. I got a little upset happy, and I was wrong for that. But in this case, I'm going to just go safe and say Goto. But that means we are thinking at the end of it all, it is either going to be Sonata Okada or Sonata Hiromu.
Yeah. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Bro, we were not far off with the way that this thing played out.
Yeah, we were pretty accurate on booking this thing out. But
this is a hard tournament to book.
Yeah, but I'm thinking with the story that they've been telling and what they normally do with New Japan Cups, I do think Okada Sonata is going to be the finals that we get for this tournament.
Yeah, if you they actually recently released a very good video that had the history of the New Japan Cup, and if you watch it, kind of similar to what we had mentioned when we did our series on the Final Countdown with the Super Juniors, it's not that uncommon for them to have finalists from previous tournaments go and be finalists once again and even sometimes win. Pretty common theme that ran through the New Japan Cup through the early iterations and has kind of continued. And Sonata, if you notice, back in 2018, he got to the semifinals and then or like the quarter, like was it the semifinals? Yeah. He ended up in the semifinals and he ended up losing to Zack Sabre. And then last year he ended up in the actual finals and lost to Okada. And so now, like, the only thing left for him to do is like to actually win the tournament.
Right.
And so it feels like that's the story that they're telling. And you have a compelling story either way. You either have Okada getting ready to reclaim his throne and, get the big rematch. And that would be a huge match if they did choose to do it in Osaka-jo Hall, even though it's a third capacity. I mean, they just did that in January. It's a big story. It'd be very compelling, and they could hypothetically do it again. But then you got Sonata, the one guy in LIJ who has no titles, who's kind of like the black sheep right now, and that'd be a big story too. So either way, you've got something there. And I think that's what they're doing, and I feel a little disappointed by that because I wanted Hiromu and Naito. Like deep down, that's what I wanted. And I was hoping that's what we were getting.
Yeah, so I was hoping we were getting too. Especially they did such a great job teasing that throughout this whole quarantine pandemic break, And with the interviews on the Keto Project and some other videos that Hiromu was doing, I was hoping that they would do something cool here and kind of give us that Hiromu Naito match. But it looks like they're kind of sticking with the original story that they had planned and going with Sonata beating Okada and then doing Sonata Naito.
Now, if they're not cowards and they want to truly be innovative, then they have Hiromu win against Okada, and then he beats Sonata, and then he beats Naito, and then
oh my gosh, Hiromu 3 belts,
and then we made a real star. That's the only thing. Like my biggest problem with Hiromu is like I wanted Hiromu to go all the way through, but he can't beat Okada because if he beats Okada and Sonata, then at that point the power structure and the entire hierarchy of New Japan is thrown off kilter. There's no way he can lose to Naito at that point. He has to beat Naito.
Right.
So, and I don't see that happening. So that's the only problem.
Nice. Well, looking forward to this week's actions, July 1st, 2nd, 3rd here, and seeing how this thing plays out. So
absolutely, and it looks like we've got a whole bunch of questions, from our listeners.
Yep, and one I want to read first. It just came in from Reddit user Rambone Slam Pig. He said,
"Oh, nice.
What are the chances we get a Luchas de Apuestas match for the blow-off between Yano and Hiromu? How would Yano look bald?"
Bro, ahead. Hashtag ahead. Yeah, that was. Is he listening? Are we like on a Patreon exclusive, like live? The listeners are like, are you, bro? Did you set up a live feed for this right now that you're taking payments for that I don't know about?
No, I did not, sir. I don't think we're ready for a live audience right now.
Bro, we could do live. We do this all in one take every week, like very little editing whatsoever.
Yeah. But I don't think Rambo was listening live. Just luckily timing here.
No, yeah, I think that would be a really funny idea. But I don't know. Like he's also the junior champion. I'd like to see them focus on him actually defending that belt. But it'd be cool.
Yeah, Yano would. Well, I mean, he's had his head shaved.
Yano's
before.
been bald before.
Yeah,
we've seen him bald. He looked fine.
Yeah. So if they do it,
he looks like a real shooter.
he has to take that L and shave the head. He also asks, is there any scuttlebutt about some of the NJPW talent who are stranded in America, like Kenta, Juice, Jay White, etc., appearing for future episodes of Lions Break Collision? Is this going to be an ongoing show or just a few episodes?
We don't know if it's going to be ongoing. It does appear that this is like a one-time taping, that they're kind of exploring their options. I wouldn't be surprised if, and I don't think it'll work, but I wouldn't be surprised if they're trying to do this as maybe some sort of way to interest maybe like a television party and show them like, hey, we can produce television in the States. But now would seem like to be the worst time to do it. And the talent that they're using is absolutely, for the most part, not New Japan talent. So it'd also be probably a bad representation of what New Japan even is. But something, just because they literally are usually so bad at reading the market and the trends in North America, something tells me that maybe that's what this is. You know what I mean? Like this is kind of like a pilot. But as far as the guys on the East Coast, so the guys in Florida and New York and stuff like that, I found out, like, I was listening to Tama's Island, again, shout out to that podcast, and he was saying that they literally had no idea that they were even doing these tapings.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah, he was surprised. Like, he found out when we found out.
Yeah, they found out when we found out, and he was like, bro, maybe we'll do something on the East Coast, because those West Coast guys aren't even telling us what's going on. So, I don't know. Who knows? Maybe in the future they'll be included. But, with everything that's happening with COVID and the travel restrictions, there might not be an opportunity for guys to travel to California and to go to the dojo and all that. Like, I don't think that's feasible.
Yeah. So those guys might just be stuck for right now in Florida.
Hey, but if they want to run a Florida show, call your boys. We would love to be involved with that.
Yeah, we'll help spread the word.
Yeah, we know some workers. We know some spots. We can get you a ring. Like, we can make that shit happen real quick.
So moving on to the next question here from Reddit user psan91. It says, I live in Osaka and was able to get tickets to the New Japan Cup final and Dominion the next day. For Dominion, I have a pretty good idea what the card might look like. What do you think the card for the New Japan Cup finals looks like? Do you think we will get lots of tags in the final match like G1 finals? Or do you think we'll get some title matches on the show? Anyway, I'm looking forward to being live in attendance for both the New Japan Cup finals and Dominion. I'll have to share my experience with you guys after the shows.
I think it's possible that we might get one title match at the New Japan Cup finals, and then the majority of it looks like preview matches for the next night. But if I was betting, I'd probably say that most of the major matches will be held at Dominion, and it will probably just be like a G1 final, like a lot of preview matches, and then the final. Yeah, maybe a special singles match. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. I think with such little time to build programs. A lot of the programs have been built within this tournament, so you don't really have a lot of time to, do extra stuff. And, Dominion's a big show. You got to have big matches on that show. So, yeah, I think we're going to get a bunch of, tags, 6-man, 8-man tags that all kind of build towards Dominion.
Yeah, I agree.
Next question comes from Jay Spammer in the Discord. He says, everyone's focused on a new leader for Suzuki-gun, but what do you think about Sanada Japan?
So he kind of takes over the Sekigun, the Hantai unit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that would kind of be funny. I feel like if Sonata leaves, like in all seriousness, if he leaves LIJ, I think he kind of has to be a heel.
Yeah. I mean, I think he could be a face, but I feel like it would be more of like a betrayal kind of thing where he like turned his back on those guys.
I don't see that being an amicable thing. Like, what kind of great story can you tell from that? Well, Sonata did all he could do here, and he just felt like he needed to move on to grow. We wish him the best in his future endeavors. Maybe we'll see him down the road. What? And then he's just a good guy? No. Like, he would have to leave and be a bad guy.
Could you have LIJ turn on him, and they all become heels? And
that's the one other option, but I don't think they will do that.
Yeah. Personally.
So, yeah, that's my thoughts.
Next question from EMJ Does PR. He says, which Gaijins are you most looking forward to returning?
Have you heard that the term Gaijin is extremely offensive and we shouldn't be saying it?
I heard Meltzer mention that on Observer Radio this weekend.
Oh, I haven't listened to the Observer Radio, so I
think it was Meltzer. It was somebody, some podcast.
I heard someone else say we're not supposed to say that, and I was like, oh, well, we've got a whole award where we we award the best Gaijin.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, so who am I most looking forward to returning? I mean, I wanted to say Ospreay, but I don't know.
That's what I was gonna say. Obviously, from an in-ring standpoint, I would love Will Ospreay, but obviously, there's a lot of questions surrounding him and stuff that he's done in the past. So
Jay White.
Well,
I mean, honestly,
I think for Bullet Club's sake, I think Jay White needs to come back as soon as possible.
Yeah, maybe he'll shave that terrible beard. I don't like the beard, bro. I don't like it. But anyways, I don't know. I mean, those are the two big players, right?
Yeah.
Maybe Ryu Lee.
Yes, yeah. Get Ryu Lee back. Trying to think who else is missing now.
I wonder if he's having matches down in Mexico, like during this whole COVID. I'm like, yeah. Well, I mean, there's always the AEW guys. You got Mox and you got Jericho. I mean, at some point they're probably going to return, I assume.
Yeah. I think, having Juice and Finlay would be good to have back just for, getting them in the mix in the tag team title picture, just having another team there.
Jeff Cobb.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I think the two big names obviously are Will Ospreay and Jay White.
Yeah.
So.
And I know it's not technically a Gaijin, but Kenta, I think it'd be good to get Kenta back soon as well.
Yeah, he's not even technically, he's not at all.
Right. I mean, he's not there right now. That's what I'm trying to get at.
Gotcha. Okay. Cool. Next question from Grunty Dodds. He says, with only 2 members wrestling full time and one that's any good, Bullet Club is looking pretty weak these days. Who would you add to fill gap until travel restrictions get back to normal? I'd personally split Roppongi 3K, but I waver on which guy to turn. Well, I would just say I wouldn't do that at all. I mean, it might be fun to kind of think of who you could add, but I can't. To me, part of the appeal of Bullet Club has always been that it was sort of like a foreigner heel faction. I know that things have changed in recent years and they have more domestic guys, but personally, the one thing I would change is I don't even like Gato and Jado in Bullet Club.
Yeah,
I think they're unnecessary. I think they bloat the entire thing entirely. I think they need to get rid of them. And I don't know if I would add anybody else personally.
Yeah, because it's a temporary solution, but what do you do when
everyone gets back?
Right, then the group's just way too big, and then you gotta start booting other people out, and so I honestly, for right now, I think you just leave it the way it is and just hope that the other guys can come in as soon as possible. But yeah, I wouldn't add anybody to Bullet Club right now.
Even splitting Roppongi 3K, if you did add one of them, they have 2 juniors already, and we kind of saw what happened in the past when they had 3 juniors. It kind of was a bit much.
Yeah, but if we were gonna go the route of adding one of the Roppongi 3K guys, I think I would go with Yo, with him kind of being bitter and jealous of how well Sho has been doing, and have him kind of turn his back.
Maybe. I feel like something tells me Yo is a bastard, or I'm sorry, something tells me Sho is a bastard, and he might, kind of just fit that group like a glove. And Yo could be the hurt. He could be the Marty. We always call him the Marty Jannetty.
Yeah.
He needs to be the Marty Onetti and be the baby face, while Sho can take Bullet Club and ride those coattails and go on to greatness.
Shawn Michaels joins the clique.
Yeah, Shawn Michaels joins the clique. He starts throwing up 2 sweets, giving people the crotch. That fits perfect.
Next question here from Highest Fly Flow says, what was the reason for Low-Key not working NJPW? I thought he refused the Earthquake Relief Tour, but someone on Twitter said something about the Hitman cosplay. Any clue what the real reason was?
Yeah, I know. Do you know?
No, I mean, I've heard several stuff about Low-Key, and clearly Low-Key's one of those guys you hear tons of stories about, and him having a bad attitude, and also being super demanding, kind of having want to do things his way. But I don't know the particular reason for him leaving New Japan.
Okay, so basically, everything that you kind of said, from what I understand, is probably has elements of truth to it. And everything that Highest Fly Flow has mentioned has elements of truth to it too. So it's kind of all of that. Basically, he didn't want to go to Fukushima. I believe that's where it was. That's where the earthquake hit and the nuclear, site had the spill and all that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they were going to go to Fukushima, and he didn't want to go there. And this was going to be say February. So in December of that year, he was still the IWGP Junior Champion, and they were telling him yo, you're going in February to Fukushima. And he declined. He didn't think it was safe. And he might have been right. At this point, I don't know. It's hard to say who's right, who's wrong. His opinion at the time was that, based on the research and everything, that they were putting all of the talent at risk by even being in Fukushima, and that they shouldn't go. And he told me he wasn't comfortable with it. And they were like, oh, you're going. And he was like, I'm not going. And he only had one more date left on his contract, which was Wrestle Kingdom. So that meant that they were pretty much not going to re-sign. So that's when they decided to have him drop the belt at Wrestle Kingdom. And as a last final kind of FU, he decided to wear the Hitman cosplay outfit. And he did not clear it with the office or disclose it. And in fact, he had done multiple, they do the videos behind the scenes and everything like that. They did a bunch of videos for press and everything like that. And he was wearing his regular ring gear and entrance attire. And then a few minutes before the actual match started, he changed into the Hitman cosplay outfit. And it was what he claims was a silent protest against what they were trying to make the wrestlers do. And the office didn't like that. They didn't take kindly to it. The match is awesome, and the outfit is awesome as well. But yeah, and then they've never talked to him. They've never invited him back. Like, I doubt they're, you know how they are. Like, they don't even want to work with TNA, and it's not even the same company. It's not even the same owners.
Right. Once they sour on you in any kind of way, they kind of wash their hands of you, and they're kind of done. Yeah,
they're not like Vince. Vince will bring you back and do business with you, unless you're Macho Man for some weird reason. No one knows. But everyone else, he'll bring you back and he'll do business. But like, New Japan's not really like that. There's like an honor code there, and he kind of broke it. So, yeah.
Yeah, and right now Loki's on Twitter telling us we shouldn't be forced to wear masks. So there's that.
I don't think we should be forced to wear masks. I mean that is getting a bit political, but I think that everyone should just do it. Just do it. Like, chill out. People are dying, dude.
Yeah.
Like, what the heck?
Well, Dr. Loki thinks differently, so.
God. Okay.
So moving on to the next question from Reddit user Just a Little Bear 01. With all the allegations flying around the British wrestling scene, can you see NJPW pulling back their excursions and maybe send them to finish up at the LA dojo, if only to not have the stink attached to their talent?
So, I mean, the two talents they have there are Shota Umino and Oka, Tomoyoki Oka, who's wrestling as the Great Okarn. I think it is possible, realistically. Plus, I mean, you have to take into consideration other things too. I mean, we don't even know. I mean, I don't know exactly what's going on in the British wrestling scene right now, but aside from just the speaking out movement, you know, with COVID-19 and everything, there are companies shutting down. There are opportunities that are like drying up, and I don't know how much better the U.S. indie scene is going to be long term. I don't know. And bro, Mexico is a mess right now.
Yeah.
Like, people are dying down there, like, bad. So, I mean, fucking excursion. Like, I don't know. You know?
Right. There might not be any excursions for a while, just based on like the travel situation and everything with the coronavirus.
Yeah, I mean, you might send them to quote unquote finish up at the LA dojo, but that might just entail them being trained by Shibata. They're probably not going to be working very many local shows. They're not going to Mexico, and they might just be working them Friday night weird ass shows that New Japan might be doing. I hope those Lions Break project. What's it called? Lions Project?
Lions Break Collision.
I hope they're good. Maybe I'm just like being, skeptical, and they end up being the rawest thing ever, but I doubt it. So I don't know what's going to happen with Shota, and but this might be good life experience. I mean, there were times in the past where when Watanabe, who is evil, when he was in America, he didn't even really wrestle that much. Like, he was kind of just there learning and eating and gaining weight and getting in shape. Like, he didn't do that much, and so maybe they'll just leave him down there.
Yeah, I guess we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
Next question here from Reddit user Lester Murphy 34. Both tag team divisions are pretty bare now, especially with the foreign talent having to stay home, but the junior division is looking very weak. If they split up Roppongi 3K, who do you see becoming the top few junior teams? They've got to start building up some new teams soon, right?
Well, there's been a lot of speculation about them splitting up Roppongi 3K, and I don't think it's impossible that they do that, but I don't think they're doing it right now.
Yeah.
For this exact reason.
Yeah, I feel like pre-pandemic, I feel like this was going to be like the last like banner year for Roppongi 3K, and I felt like after this year we're going to lead to the split. But yeah, with the pandemic and with there not being a ton of teams in the division, I think they might stay together a little bit longer. And obviously, it's going to be hard to get a lot of new, foreign teams in. So unfortunately, I think we're going to be stuck with, potentially, Desperado and Kanemaru again. Now that Hiromu's back, you can do Hiromu and Bushi challenging them. But besides that, there's not a lot of great options within the promotion.
Are they the junior champions right now?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I've forgotten. I mean, I don't know. What teams are there? I mean, you could hypothetically do Hiromu and Bushi.
Yeah, that's what I just said. Hiromu and Bushi.
And then what? You got Desperado and Kanemaru?
Yeah.
And I guess you could throw like a Young Lion team together.
You could do like Taguchi and the Young Lion.
Yeah. There's also always Taguchi and, the mega coaches.
Yeah, well, Rocky's still stuck in States right now.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Domestic talent. I mean, if you did a Young Lion team, I mean, you could do, say, oh man, who's the Gaijin Young Lion that they got?
Gabriel.
You could do Gabriel and Yumura.
Yeah.
Is there anybody else? I'm sure Tiger Mask is around there somewhere.
Yeah, you could maybe do Tiger Mask and Taguchi.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, it's not an inspiring division, but when has it been?
Yeah. It's always been 2 or 3 teams that they kind of revolve around.
I mean, you could even do Ishimori. You could do Jado and Gato. Gato and Jado.
Oh my gosh.
Gato and Jado. Yeah.
Don't want to see that.
So I mean, I don't know. Maybe they could bring in some foreign or some outside talent from Noah or DDT or Dragon Gate or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that'd probably be the best bet, especially if they're gonna attempt to do a junior tag league later this year, to reach out to some of domestic promotions and use some of their talent.
Dude, it's time. Fold up this division. Let's get it mixed in with the heavyweight division. They're floundering too. Like we need it.
Yeah, just one tag division.
All right. Next question from Viking Payne. He said, "Show is an incredible wrestler. Is there any chance we get him in the G1?" I would say no.
Yeah, I think chances are very slim. I think they have enough heavyweights there in Japan to run the full G1 without including juniors.
Now, let's think about this. What if, given what's happening in America with COVID, there is absolutely, positively no way that any of these guys are going to make it back in time for a G1? Then I'd say maybe.
Right. Yeah, I think even without a lot of the Gaijin guys, they might just keep it strictly heavyweight and use the heavyweights that they have there. And maybe the blocks are a little bit smaller, but I mean they still have a lot of guys, a lot of heavyweights that are there.
Well, Show has shown he can go, and if he has a good outing against Sonata, you just never know.
Right.
So that would be my one caveat. But I would generally say no, we probably won't see him in it. Next question, he said, also with the WWE having a COVID-19 outbreak at the Performance Center, do you guys think New Japan should be a little more cautious going forward and hold back on having fans come to shows? I mean, you know what my answer is going to be, Jeremy.
Yeah, so it's kind of a tricky situation here. So obviously, things here in Florida are a lot worse than they are in Japan. We are breaking records and having, we're having 9,000 new cases in days, where in Japan it's like they're having maybe like 100 new cases a day, and they're kind of taking things, they're taking care of things seriously. I guess for me, I know you too. My bigger concern is with the wrestlers and making sure that they're getting the appropriate testing in between shows and making sure that their wrestling environment is safe.
Yeah, I think New Japan put out a PDF. You can actually download it on their website, and it's pretty extensive, and it talks about everything that is required if you're going to even be attending these shows. And it's like they require you to wear a mask. They require you to get a temperature check. They're going to have sanitizing stations everywhere. You're going to be spaced very far apart from anybody else who's in the building. You're going to be required to maintain a social distanced space from anybody all throughout the show. Even like going to the bathroom, going to concession stands, there's going to be space. They're going to have special procedures for allowing people in the building and exiting and making it to their seats. So it sounds like they're trying their best to have every precaution in place. The other thing too is they're going to be administering temperature checks. They're not going to be giving out like what are those things called? Like the little magazines they give you at the beginning.
The brochures, the programs.
No programs. They're not going to be doing that. They're not going to be doing anything that they normally would be doing, and there's like going to be basically no touching whatsoever. So, and they're going to be asking them questions like, if you've been sick, if you've had any symptoms, if you've been in contact with anyone who's had any symptoms, please don't arrive. So they're doing everything in their power possible to take the precautions. The one thing that is problematic with New Japan running shows, and it's going to be until they rectify it, guys, listen to me. Trust me when I tell you this. They are not testing the wrestlers for COVID-19. This is a huge fucking problem. And we can see what is happening in WWE when they have not given tests. Now they've given a test, and dude, we don't even know how many people have it. They're literally telling the talent not to disclose it, but the reports are like, one day it was like double digits, 10. Next day, some people were like, it's over 20. Last time I heard, they were like, it could be over 40.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like really bad. And it's like, obviously, if you test, you're going to find it. I'm not saying that – I don't know why New Japan's not testing. They have done, up until this point, every single possible thing perfect. They didn't run. They sent people home. They've sanitized. They've distanced. They've worn the masks. They've been socially responsible. And then when they brought people back to work, they gave them antibody testing. But they have been pretty clear and pretty transparent about everything they've done, and they have not talked about doing COVID testing one time in any press conference, in any press release, in any official document that they have ever produced. And anyone who thinks that they're testing, dude, I'm telling you, they're not testing. You cannot find one verifiable proof that this company is testing for COVID-19 on any of their workers, any of their wrestlers, any of their crew, nobody. And so, yeah, I do think that there is a big liability there that they're not testing. Now, last thing I'll say about this, there is an argument that they might not need to test because the curve is flattened so greatly that it might not be necessary. But we're seeing a huge second wave spring up here in America, especially in WWE. I'm not saying that that's likely going to happen there, but when you start opening things up, that's what opened up the second wave here. Them running shows with fans in attendance, the likelihood is that it is definitely a possibility that things could spread, and you got to be testing. The one company that I know that's running, that is testing, some people love them, some people hate them. I'm not a shill for them. I'm just telling you the facts. Every show AEW runs, you get tested twice before you get in the building. And once you're in the building, you cannot leave. And if you do, you get retested. That is how New Japan should be running, period. I know it hurts some of the pro elitists and some of the diehards who hate the elite and hate Tony Khan and hate what they're doing. But they literally are doing something that is, fuck a mask. People should be wearing masks. It's important. But, dude, what's a mask going to do if you haven't all been tested? You got to be tested, period.
Right. And, like you mentioned, New Japan has been very open with what they're doing. So if they were COVID tested, why would they not come out and say that along with everything
they would
have
told us?
Right. And I think, a lot of people, they see the antibody testing out. A lot of people might not know what it is. So, yeah, they're doing the antibody testing, but that's just testing to see if you've had it before. Like, if you've had COVID, then you have the antibodies for it. Testing to see if you had it. But that's not telling you if you currently have it or, it's a totally different test than the actual COVID-19 test.
I'll tell you one other thing, too. Do your research. Don't just take my word for it, but I've got close, people that I'm close with that are working medical, and industry. The truth of the matter is that the COVID tests are way more reliable than those antibody tests. Those antibody tests are not a proven thing whatsoever. There is a lot of false negatives, false positives, and things of that nature. We don't even know what an antibody even means when it comes to a disease as new as COVID-19.
Right.
Caleb Braxton talking about getting it twice.
Yeah, that's also about to mention, yeah.
And we don't even know if she actually got it twice because, dude, a lot of people think, oh, it's like a 21-day period or whatever, or a 14-day period when you have this thing. nah, bro. Modern science is saying that when people have this thing, they're testing positive for it like months after the fact. And so it could actually, there's just a lot we don't know about this disease yet. Right. It's just a lot we don't know. So an antibody test may be helpful. It may not be helpful. But you know what would definitely be helpful?
COVID-19
some active COVID-19 testing, which, sorry, I hate to say it because I love this company, but they're not doing it. The moment they start doing it, they need to tell us, and we will sing their praises.
Right. So his last question, he says, lastly, thoughts on Rusev possibly in New Japan? I know that he likes to troll, but a lot on his latest Twitch stream he mentioned when he goes to Japan. If he does go to Japan, I think he has a higher chance of reaching his full potential in New Japan than in AEW or Impact. Oh snaps, Rusev is the Grandmaster, LOL.
I would disagree with you there because New Japan is something that is definitely you can really become a really big star here for sure, but there's definitely limitations. You know what I mean? Like, for instance, just to kind of give an example, look at someone like Jericho. Yeah, Jericho's a big star in Japan and everything of that nature, but his antics only get him so far because the type of company that New Japan is, the type of wrestling and the way they present their wrestling is vastly different than, say, an American company where it's very entertainment-heavy, entertainment-based. And Jericho's been able to expand his star and expand his, status in wrestling in AEW and become a bigger star than he ever could have just doing New Japan. And that's a proven fact. It's because he has that entertainment facet to his, background. Believe it or not, a lot of people don't really like to remember this, but like when given the ball and given the opportunity, Rusev is one of the most entertaining people in wrestling. He is an entertainer. Yeah, he's a brute. Yeah, he could probably do strong style. Yeah, he could probably cultivate some sort of character that would get over New Japan. I don't doubt that. But I don't know if this is the perfect place for him. I bet you in AEW he'd probably do really well.
Yeah, that would be the perfect place for him to be able to wrestle his style, but also, like you mentioned, use that that personality that we saw with like all the Rusev Day stuff. That would be more of the platform for that. Where as far as New Japan, it'd be more of an in-ring kind of thing for him, which I'm sure maybe he wants that, and that could be good for him also.
Yeah, the aftermatch promos in Japan are great, and for diehards that actually go and listen to them and watch them, fantastic. But the reality is the majority of people who enjoy this product don't even go watch those. And I know I don't have the time to go watch them all the time. They get uploaded way later, Mm-hmm. You have to go track them down in a totally different place. They're not as a part of the show, and they're not essential or necessary to follow along. They're kind of like, the whipped cream on top of your Frappuccino. You don't need it. It's just it's a bonus. It's an added thing. But you think about like when Jericho was like attacking people in the shows or, that sort of thing, or cutting those promos, the video package promos, that's kind of what got him over. That's the sort of thing Rusev would have to do to really get over in New Japan, or some sort of, sort of like what Kenta had to do with the Bullet Club to get himself over. That's the reality of it. He wouldn't be able to weekly come out and do a talking segment and, exercise all of his gifts and talents, which he does have that aspect to him. He absolutely does. I've seen it. The Rusev Day stuff, the handsome Rusev stuff, like he's an entertaining guy.
Yeah.
I don't know if Japanese professional wrestling is perfectly tailored to him. In ring, I think he could probably grow the most in Japan.
Right. So yeah, maybe he does both eventually, or does a tour in Japan and then comes back to America. Who knows? But yeah,
it's possible. Absolutely. I would love to see him in Japan. I mean, we need something, more shakeups and things of that nature, but I wouldn't hold my breath for it.
Yeah. So next question from Dan Coffin. Why doesn't NJPW change the name of Jay White's faction from the Bullet Club? I mean, if Kenny and the Bucks are persona non grata from now on and the brand is inherently tied to them, why wouldn't they change it to something new? Do they still get a cut of all the Bucks and Kenny BC-related shirts and pro wrestling tees? Or are Japanese fans really into Bullet Club because it seems like it's more over with Western fans?
A lot of questions. I'll kind of go through my mind and then, however you want to do it, Jeremy. Number one, I don't think that they would change the name of the Bullet Club because the term Bullet Club is something that New Japan owns, and it's a licensing product that they make a lot of money off of. And so instead of changing it, they've tried to adopt it to Jay White and continue to make money off of it. The other thing too is that I don't think it's inherently tied to Kenny and the Bucks personally, because it had a long history before then and it's had a history after that. But the reality is that in some sense it does benefit them having been tied to Kenny and the Bucks, because that's where they sold the most merch. And, for those fans who might still be nostalgic and kind of attached to that time period, maybe that benefits New Japan to a degree. The fact that they happen to have been part of the history of the group, that might long term actually be a benefit as opposed to a negative. Just depends on how you look at it. But Fergal Devitt and AJ Styles and Carl Anderson, all those guys, they were there long before the Elite was ever a thing, years before. The other thing too is I don't think that they still selling Bullet Club related stuff on their pro wrestling tees, the Elite guys?
No, I don't think so.
See, that's the thing. I don't think they are. Now, if they are, I don't know how that works. I know one of the big complaints of the Elite guys was that they weren't getting a big cut of any of the merchandise that New Japan was selling with their likenesses on it for the Bullet Club. Like, the majority of the money was going to New Japan, and that was a big issue for the Elite guys, and one reason why they left the Bullet Club and didn't want to be a part of it. And as far as Japanese fans being into it anymore, I mean, it was really, really, really over. I don't know how over it is right now, honestly. Like, there's no fans, and it's hard to kind of gauge it. It did seem like Kenta was picking up some steam. I know last year Jay White seemed to have some steam behind him as well, and we were seeing a lot of Switchblade towels and things of that nature. But I don't know what the merchandising numbers look like. I will say it's probably a lot less than what it had been previously in the past before Jay White took over.
Right. Yeah, we don't have the exact numbers on it, but I mean, when we still had a crowd, you still saw a lot of Bullet Club T-shirts, and like you mentioned, that there were a rise in Jay White towels and stuff like that. So I think it's definitely still a popular brand. Obviously, it's nowhere near the heights that it was with Kenny and the Elite there. But I still think it's a brand that people like and buy merch for in Japan. But yeah,
absolutely.
I think you kind of covered it all with all those points there.
Next question from Kyle Martin. He says, what is the likelihood that we'll get Sonata versus Evil in the semis and then Hiromu versus Sonata in the finals?
So we kind of touched on that earlier. We think that the safe option is Sonata Goto, but the more intriguing option would be Sonata Evil, and I think it's a good chance. I think honestly that match is a 50-50 toss-up match, and I think either Evil or Goto could win. And then we talked.
I'd go 51-49. Goto 51, Evil 49.
And then we talked about Hiromu versus Sonata in the finals. Just like the chances of Hiromu, getting past Okada are very, very slim.
Yeah, I agree. I could see Hiromu beating Nagata, but not Okada. And if he does, then Sonata would have to beat him, I assume, which I don't like that story as much. It doesn't make as much. I think Sonata beating Okada means a lot more than Sonata beating Hiromu.
Yeah.
Personally, but who knows? Maybe they go that way. Maybe they go Sonata beating Evil, Sonata beating Hiromu. That'd be kind of crazy, right?
Yeah, it would be. He also asked, do you guys remember a specific Tai Chi match in a tournament a few years ago where he stalled for 9 minutes and gets in a quick low blow and cheap roll up for the win? Know what I'm talking about?
Nope.
I mean, that sounds like a lot of Tai Chi matches from earlier in his career.
I don't remember. Yeah, but I don't remember that specific match. I mean, that's pretty specific. I don't remember that.
Yeah, neither do I. He also asked, why are all the major wrestling fans in Japan promoted as gender exclusive? Is it just a cultural thing?
It is a cultural thing. We've talked about it extensively on the show in the past, but it's funny Kyle's asking this because Kyle, at this point, I know Kyle does like mad research all the time on the internet, so it's it's like the resources are out there. But I mean, the long story short is this: when wrestling first started, they had a men's organization and women's organizations, and it kind of just came up from that sensibility from the 50s and going on. Women just kind of had their own promotion where they were focused on, and men had their own. And people kind of became attached and attracted to that. And it's just never really crossed. There are some companies that are not gender exclusive, but, the reality is major wrestling feds in Japan are gender exclusive because of the way that wrestling started back then culturally.
Then his last question, you guys think we'll be seeing any former WWE guys debuting by the end of the tournament, a potential Bullet Club reunion perhaps?
I don't think we'll be seeing any Bullet Club reunion. The only way I think we could be seeing any sort of debut is via Zoom. It'd have to be some sort of like video package because guys in America are not going to Japan right now.
Right, yeah.
I know like if Guns and Gallows.
Yeah, I know they've been teasing. Yeah, I know they've been teasing on their Twitter. Once their no compete's over, something big's going to be happening, and they're planning to go back to New Japan. Blah blah. But yeah, with the travel ban and travel restrictions right now, yeah, I don't think that they'll be showing up anytime soon.
Well, there's talk that they're in discussions to show up at Slammiversary and maybe work a type of schedule that would allow them to work Japan as well as Impact. But part of me just kind of feels like, what if they're just master workers and the big surprise is just that they're going to Impact, and that be it?
Could be.
and we're sitting here thinking like, oh, these guys are coming to New Japan, and it's like, nah, playa. Working Impact with Moose.
Yeah, we're gonna be in the Impact Zone, brothers. Yeah, so yeah, we'll.
I don't even think they have that anymore, right?
No. Yeah, the Impact Zone's gone.
That's going to do it for the questions, right?
Yep, that wraps up the questions, and now we just have a few quick news items here. So the LIJ Super 7 action figure series is now available for pre-order on the Token Shop Global. So if you want, you can check those out and pre-order those. We had an announcement about the Lions Break Collision announce team. So there will be Japanese and English commentary for these Lions Break Collision shows. So for the Japanese team, they will have Shigeki Kiyono. He'll be commentating with Tanahashi and Shibata. And then on the English side, it will be Kevin Kelly, Gino Gambito, and Chris Charlton. And there was a note here. This was passed along to us by JM Factor in our Discord on Tom Lawler's podcast, post-UFC show on Observer last week. He pointed out that all talent had to be tested. All talent was quarantined. The locker room area was outside. The canvas was clean between matches, as was the backstage area, and they taped over a dozen matches for the Lions Break Collision shows.
Hey, if that's what they're doing for the Collision shows, maybe that is what they're doing for the shows in Japan. My only thing is that if they did that, it would be really weird for them to announce every single thing that they're doing except the testing.
Right.
So I would love to be wrong on this. I would completely love to be wrong. I'd love for them to be quarantining and doing all this stuff and testing for every single match and every single show and everything like that. I hope that's the case. I don't think it is, but we'll see.
So next up, Bad Luck Fale. He did an interview on NJPW 1972, had comments about the Elite, and they were, interviewing him about, when Kenny Omega took over the Bullet Club, New Year's Dash 2016. And talking about, he said it was exciting at first. NJPW was expanding into America with Kenny and Bullet Club at the forefront. I thought this was our chance to take what we had built and bring it to the States, bring it to the world. It got a lot of notoriety as a brand, but it didn't turn out like we thought. It wasn't taking what we had built overseas. It was taking Kenny and the Elite's vision overseas. We weren't wrestling the way we did. We were wrestling the way they did. It really felt like we were losing our identity. Any thoughts on Fale's comments there?
He ain't lie. This is exactly what happened. It's 100% true.
Yeah. And yeah, there's a lot of, even Tama's kind of talked about it too on his podcast, and just how things kind of changed when Kenny took over leadership of the Bullet Club. In other news, Bushiroad released its February to April business report. New Japan isn't broken down specifically, but they do have a category for sports business, which is mostly New Japan revenue, although it does include Knockout, which is their kickboxing promotion that Bushiroad just recently sold, and Stardom in those numbers. With no March or April live events in what is still mainly a live events promotion, revenue fell from $11.6 million to $9.1 million for the quarter, a 21.6% drop. However, from August 1st to April 30th, Bushiroad sports business event went from $38 million to $39.7 million. So they're actually 4.5% up for the $9.7 million for the fiscal year. They will likely show a decline for the year because of no live gates for May and June, and whatever July gates there are would be with 30% spectator capacity, so it should drop greatly. The November through February quarter before the pandemic increased business from $12.7 million to $16.9 million, or 33.1%, which was largely due to the second Tokyo Dome show. Due to the pandemic and shutting down so many shows, it will be the first time since Bushiroad purchased the company that total revenue will decline over the course of a full year as compared with the prior year. And that comes from the Wrestling Observer. Another note there, too, is even after a 3.5 month between shows, New Japan World subscription numbers stayed steady, although no actual number was given, but the usual range is 100,000 to 125,000 depending on the time of the year, usually higher during G1 and Wrestle Kingdom season.
Yep.
So, obviously, as expected, numbers to be down with no live gates in a mainly touring promotion right now.
Absolutely.
And that's going to wrap things up with the news. Only last thing we got to do now is the recommended match of the week. So last week on the fly, I quickly recommended Sho versus Shingo from last year's Best of the Super Junior. Did you get a chance to go back and watch that one?
There wasn't a lot of clarity here as to exactly what we were doing for recommended match of the week. I wasn't sure if we were going back to the old method where we were just recommending a match or whether we were telling each other to go watch it. So, no, I did not go back and watch Sho versus Shingo. But with that being the case, I mean, I don't really need to have watched it. That this is a match that, I absolutely adore. It was during the first night of the Super Juniors last year. And, the moment that Shingo got into New Japan Pro Wrestling, he was kind of catapulted into the junior division and spent most of his time in tag matches. And once him and Bushi started tagging, that's when they kind of focused in on their pursuit of the junior tag team titles. And, most of their great matches were between them and Roppongi 3K, namely the matches that they had with, or the interactions that Shingo and Sho had with one another. And, Sho had been up to the point when Shingo joined the division, probably the most buffed out muscle, strong style based junior of the division. And once Shingo showed up, he was like, playa, it's me now. You got to face the master. And, Shingo would sun Sho every single time they fought, and this happened all the time. And Sho was like this rabid dog who just, couldn't stop seeing red every time he saw Shingo, and he'd just go after him like headstrong. And so it all kind of culminated in this first round match that they had with one another. And Shingo being a favored contender to win the tournament, win the A block, he had a real big task in front of him facing his rival in Sho. And this is actually, aside from a Young Lion match, the first singles match we saw of Shingo in New Japan Pro Wrestling. And this match super delivered. It felt literally like a G1 style match. It didn't feel in tone or style like it belonged in the junior division, which is a good thing because I think junior wrestling should be a very varied sort of thing and not necessarily just one sort of flippy style wrestling. I think junior wrestling should encompass all styles of wrestling. And these guys went out there, put it all on the line, tons of near falls, super hard hitting, Sho Shingo to the limit. I think it was probably the I don't know. I'd say it was maybe Shingo's toughest test during the the A block during that year, and Sho was this far away from actually picking up the win. He wasn't able to do it, and Shingo was able to finally get him out of there. But it was the toughest test of Shingo's A-block run in the Best Super Juniors last year, and I put that in my top 10 matches of the year. The only junior match that I personally liked better than this from last year was Ospreay and Shingo. I could have easily gone near 5 stars. I think it's like 4 3/4, and just a match that really lived up to and exceeded the expectations.
Yeah, great matchup. So what's the recommended match of the week for this week?
So my recommended match of the week, and since we are making it clear, Jeremy, you do have to go watch this match.
Yes.
But trust me, you're going to want to. As we're kicking it old school, we're going back to NJPW Wrestling World 2004 from the Tokyo Dome, January 4th. We have Yuji Nagata taking on Kenzuki Sasaki in what is undoubtedly the bloodiest match in the history of New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Nice. Love some color.
And not only that, it is just literally one of the most violent matches you will ever see. I think it only goes 13 minutes, honestly.
Nice.
Like, it is incredible. Incredible.
All right. Well, looking forward to checking that out and giving my thoughts next week. Well, that is going to wrap things up for this week's episode of Keeping It Strong Style. Next week, we'll be back with coverage of the rest of the second round, quarterfinals, and semifinals. If you enjoyed today's show, please consider making a donation by visiting socialsuplex.com/donate and clicking on the donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo. Make sure you connect with us on social media. On Twitter, the show is at KI Strong Style. I'm at Jeremy L. Donovan. Also follow us at Social Suplex. On Facebook, we are facebook.com/Social Suplex in the Wrestling Squared Circle, facebook.com/group/Wrestling Squared Circle. On Instagram, we are at Social Suplex. On Reddit, I am the Pro Black Guy. Josh is Keeping It Strong Style. You can email me, Jeremy at socialsuplex.com. Also check out our Social Suplex Discord channel. Check out all the other shows on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. On Sundays, we have One Nation Radio, hosted by Rich Latta and James Broyd. On Wednesdays, we have the Ricky and Clive Wrestling Show from Scotland. Every other Wednesday, we have our podcast dedicated to independent wrestling, Grown Men Watch This Shit, hosted by Jeremy Tate and Chris Bryan. On Fridays, we have Get in the Ring with Danny and Beast Mike. And on Saturdays, we have All Things Elite with Floyd Johnson and Austin. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a rating and review. And we will catch you next week on Keeping It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts.
Ichiban.
Thank you for listening to Keepin' It Strong Style. We'll see you next time.